Chapter 2982. Tianhe could not hold it in any longer. He pulled out his blood demon hammer and roared as he smashed towards the crowd. "If you dare speak nonsense again, I will smash your mouth first." However, before he could rush out, he was grabbed by the back of his neck and pulled back. Tianhe was about to explode, but when he turned around and saw that the person pulling him back was Jun Shirtian, he became listless. However, his tone was still indescribable as he gritted his teeth. "Demon Lord, it was the spirit cultivators who bullied us too much," Jun Shirtian said indifferently. "I know." With that, he let go of Tianhe and grabbed the air. Only a cracking sound could be heard. The few spirit cultivators who said those nasty words just now had their necks broken. The entire place was silent. All the spirit cultivators looked at Jun Shirtian in fear. It was as if they had just realized that the person in front of them was a ruthless and unreasonable demon lord. Those who submit to him prosper, or those who oppose him perish. However, this was not the end. Just as the few spirit cultivators were about to lose their lives, black smoke enveloped their bodies and quickly swallowed the starlight in their bodies. There was no sound around them, but everyone seemed to hear mournful screams of despair ringing in their ears. That was the pain of their souls being swallowed. Not only did these people die, even their souls dissipated. They would never have the chance to reincarnate ever again. SSSSS. Someone sucked in a breath of cold air, his legs trembling. Someone's face turned pale as he retreated. There were also people who were filled with righteous indignation, but their lips trembled for a long time. Not a single word came out. Yu Yanran regained her senses and immediately frowned. "Demon Lord, what do you mean by this? Everyone was just gossiping, and you actually want to kill him? Now that a disaster is upon us, the demon race is so selfish and ruthless. Aren't you afraid of retribution?" Jun Shirtian laughed coldly. "Retribution? Who do you think you are? You dare to teach me a lesson?" Yu Yanran said sternly, "Demon Lord, have you never thought that your daughter is wandering outside, whether she is alive or dead, is because of your many unjust deeds? The heavens have sent down your punishment. If you really want your daughter to be well, you should be more benevolent and restrain your subordinates." Her voice stopped abruptly. Her beautiful face, which was originally full of righteousness, twisted and contorted in pain. A cloud of black smoke had wrapped around her neck without her noticing. He could easily take away her life and soul at any time. Yu Yanran desperately activated the immortal energy in her body to struggle. However, she discovered that with her strength as an immortal king, she didn't even have the slightest ability to retaliate against Jun Shirtian. For the first time, Yu Yanran felt the fear of death. Her eyes reddened, and she turns to look at Deming Ju. Her own pride made it impossible for her to say the words of prayer. However, 2 streams of tears rolled down her cheeks, making her look indescribably pitiful. Deming Ju frowns, looking at Elder Chong, and Pajun defeating armies hung his head in silence. However, Elder Chong coughed lightly and said awkwardly, "Linglong Island belongs to our polar domain after all. Young lady you specially rushed over because she was worried about Lord's safety. We met on the way, so this subordinate decided to let her board the ship. About that, Lord, if you don't make a move, you'll really be killed by the Demon Lord. At that time, we won't be able to explain to Linglong Island. What's more, the ancestors of Linglong Island had a life and death friendship with our polar domain. Why don't you make a move and save her?" Deming Ju coldly snorted, but in the end, he still raised his hand. A blue light shot out, and the black smoke wrapped around Yu Yanran's neck was instantly dispersed. Chapter 2983. 1 second. Remember LoveNet to provide you with exciting reading. Fuck. Deming Ju, your polar domain really wants to make life difficult for us demons, isn't it? What are you talking about? Could it be that the polar domain and the demon race were originally sworn enemies? If the Emperor doesn't make a move, could it be that he will allow you to kill his beloved? The demon race is the demon race, sinister, ruthless, and selfish. You want them to help repair the heavenly pillars? I'm afraid that before the poltergeist ghosts are completely exterminated, our spirit cultivators will be slaughtered to the last by the fiend race first. That's right. What's there to cooperate with? We might as well shed all pretense of cordiality and wipe out the entire devil clan in one fell swoop. The two sides quickly divided into two camps. The spirit cultivators all stood on the polar domain side with righteous indignation. As for the devil cultivators, they eagerly surrounded June Shirtion, constantly clamoring to tear apart every spirit cultivator, eat their flesh and drink their blood. Tianhe, Wine Boy, Yao Dao, and Shueji all took out their weapons and stood on either side of Jun Shirtian. Their killing intent was accumulating. Even Yao Dao and Wine Boy were no longer courteous to him. To them, Jun Shirtian was a god of faith. No one was allowed to insult his honor. The polar domain didn't want to fight. Firstly, the Shoshin continent was currently in a crisis. The poltergeist ghosts were wreaking havoc, and the people were in dire straits. The demons did what they wanted and did not care much about life and death. But the polar domain couldn't just stand by and watch as its people fell into dire straits. Secondly, Elder Chong and the others know that Di Mingju has been continuously replenishing Mayan with his divine essence. His strength was less than 70% of his peak. Master Jing Yuan was seriously injured when he repaired the heavenly pillar just now. Could it be that Jun Shang is completely unscathed? Obviously not. Di Mingju's injuries are very serious. He simply can't bear the burden of a high-intensity battle or enter the crack of Tianju again. This was also the reason why Yu Yanran hurriedly came out of the flying ship to stop him. However, Elder Chong did not expect that. Not only did Yu Yanran not help, she even provoked the anger of both sides. The situation was out of control. Jun Shirtian was on the devil race's side. Unless Di Mingju makes a move, the people of the polar domain and the spirit cultivators here might be completely annihilated. Wouldn't that make Di Ming even more injured? At the thought of this, Elder Chong no longer cared about his pride. He took a step forward and bowed. Demon Supremacy, please calm down. I'm afraid there's been some misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? Tian, he sneered. What misunderstanding? Could it be that your polar domain's reply to my demon race's rejection of the marriage alliance was true? Di Mingju doesn't intend to marry? Before the venomous ghosts are completely destroyed, he has to remain a bachelor forever? Elder Chong was about to speak. He heard a cold voice coming from behind him. I'm already married. Who do you think wants to be a bachelor forever? As soon as he said that, everyone present was dumbfounded. What? What? The Emperor was already married? Why didn't I know? Who is the polar domain's divine Empress? Isn't that obvious? That was definitely Fairy Yanran. Other than her, who else could be worthy of God? Unbeknownst to them, Yu Yanran was 100 times more shocked than everyone else present. She abruptly turns her head to look at Di Mingju, wanting to ask, "Who did you marry?" But her lips tremble for a long time, yet she can't make even the slightest sound. That's because a silhouette and a name naturally emerge in her mind. Zhu Mayan. Yu Yanran's hands suddenly clench. Elder Chong touches his forehead. He's so worried that he wants to smash his head into tofu. Mobile users, please browse and read. For a better reading experience, please come to Zai. Chapter 2984. 1 second to remember. LoveNet, providing you with wonderful reading. Jun Shang, why are you being so honest at this time? Telling 1 or 2 lies won't make you lose a piece of meat. Why continue to stab the hearts of the demons? Sure enough, after the shock, the demons became furious. Good, polar domain. You really used an excuse to brush us off? What do you think our demon princess is? Clearly say that you are already married. Do you think we will shamelessly pester you? Polar domain is really going too far. Today, we must seek justice for the demon lord and the princess. At this time, Inyuani also walked forward and respectfully saluted Jun Shirtian. Yuani greets the demon lord. Polar domain is really going too far, daring to humiliate the demon lord and the princess. My nether domain and the demons are of the same breath. I really can't stand it anymore. I asked the demon lord to allow my nether domain to join the war and teach these shameless people of polar domain a lesson. With that, he also coldly looked at the people of polar domain gathered. You have big guts, daring to slander the princess' pure reputation. The princess is the only biological daughter of the demon lord, high and mighty, noble and extraordinary. Whoever can marry the princess is the good fortune of 3 lifetimes. Today, I swear, after returning to Nether Domain, I will beg my father to change the marriage contract. I, Inuini, will marry the demon princess as my official wife. No matter when she returns, my Nether Domain's Nether Empress position will be kept for her forever. Looking at everyone's shocked expression, Inuini hooked his lips in satisfaction. Today, he made such an oath in front of everyone. It can be said that he is extremely benevolent to the demon princess. Presumably, the entire demon race is already grateful to him in their hearts. In the future, Nether Domain is his. Demon Domain will also be his. As for that demon princess, so what if he gave the position of Nether Empress? As long as there is not enough strength to support it in the end, it is just a decoration. If she is obedient, he will pamper her more. If she is not obedient, since she married in another domain, it is not up to her, a mere woman, to decide. At that time, he was really blinded by greed, giving such a good marriage opportunity to Luo Yinshao. Unexpectedly, he let her snatch away his destiny, and also suffered the pain of the Nether Een Sacred Flame's backlash. Thinking of this, the smile on Inuini's face became more and more complacent. After enjoying the attention of the crowd, he turned around and slowly bowed to Jun Shurtian. Father-in-law, this son-in-law. However, before Inuini finished his words, Jun Shurtian interrupted him coldly. Who said anything about changing the marriage agreement? Inuini paused. You should know that the person who was engaged to the princess was just... Father chose this person to marry the princess as a stopgap measure. Yuchen also hurriedly added, back then, the infernal region and the nether region didn't understand each other, and the alliance wasn't strong, so there was such a candidate. But that person is absolutely not worthy of the princess. Our young master is the future master of the nether realm. Changing a marriage contract is of great benefit to the demon clan. Could it be that In Wuji didn't tell you? The corners of Jun Shurtian's mouth curled up as he ridiculed. What? I was the one who decided the marriage. Inuini, who do you think you are? How dare you marry my daughter? Inuini's arrogant smile froze on his face for a moment, and then it gradually became distorted. That person, who does he think he is? He is not worthy to compare with me. I have the 3rd rank dark in Holy Flame. I am the young master of the Netherrealm. What does he have? For mobile users, please browse and read. For a better reading experience, please visit the Self-Love website. Chapter 2985. Having just witnessed his uselessness and cowardice, Yao Dao and the other 3 couldn't help but roll their eyes. Milky Way ruthlessly smashed his hammer towards Inuini. Get lost, seeing you annoys me. No matter how bad that pretty boy is, he is still our princess's future husband. Do you think you can slander him? If Yuchen hadn't pulled him back, Inuini would have almost been hit by the Blood Devil hammer. Looking at his cowardly appearance, the demons who had already seen his true colors all snorted. Shui Jie giggled. Inuini, you asked him what he has? Just based on that face and that aura, you've already lost completely. If our emperor's son-in-law is the bright moon in the sky, you are the mud that can't hold up the wall, the turtle that can't climb ashore. Aligning with your nether realm is because we don't like the polar domain. It has nothing to do with a good-for-nothing like you. It's the same now. If you have any self-awareness, get lost right now. Don't disturb our battle with the polar domain. A good-for-nothing like you would be a hindrance to us if you help us. Shui Jie's words caused everyone to roar with laughter. Whether it was the demons or the people of the polar domain, they all looked at him as if they were watching a joke. Inuini was already close to going crazy with anger. He wished he could pounce on Shui Jie and tear her face into pieces. These people dared to ruthlessly trample on his face in the mud. They said he was a good-for-nothing, said he couldn't compare to Luo Yunxiao. Moreover, it was in front of Yu Yanran. However, before Yin Yuanyi could rush out, he was firmly pulled by Yu Chun and dragged to the side. "You good-for-nothing." Yin Yuanyi ruthlessly slapped Yu Chen's face. "You just watch this young master be humiliated by them like this?" Yu Chen's face twitched, burning with anger. In the nether realm, even Yin Wuji had to be polite to him. Yin Yuanyi, this good-for-nothing, was cowardly and incompetent, which made Jun Shitian look down on him, and he even vented his anger on him. Yu Chen wished he could slap this idiot to death. However, thinking of the current situation, he took a few deep breaths and suppressed his anger. "Young master, both the polar domain and the nether realm have the advantage in numbers. We can't afford to offend either side." Yin Yuanyi wanted to lose his temper. He hears Yu Chun coldly say, "Or could it be that young master wants to meet force with force against Di Mingju and Jun Shitian?" Yin Yuanyi immediately shut up. However, the anger and unwillingness in his heart could not be quelled no matter what, and he was almost tormented to the point of insanity. At this moment, Mu Liuyun's low voice sounded beside his ear. "Young Lord Yuanyi, the polar domain and the devil domain have humiliated you like this. Do you want to take revenge on them and let them all die a horrible death?" Yin Yuanyi's joke didn't ease the tension between the polar domain and the devil domain. However, the polar domain Imperial Guards were well trained. No matter how angry they were, as long as their commander did not give an order, they would not budge. On the devil race's side, after Jun Shitian killed a few insolent spirit cultivators, he did not issue any more orders. Tianhe and the other three naturally did not dare to act rashly. For a moment, the scene once again turned into a war of words between the spirit cultivators and the devil cultivators. Di Mingju impatiently frowned. He simply had no interest in paying attention to this boring fight. At this moment, all of his mental power is concentrated on the void spirit ring on his finger. He can feel that Mu Yan has already reached the most critical juncture. He will never allow anything to happen to Mu Yan. Chapter 2986. 1 second to remember, LoveNet, providing you with wonderful reading. Wisps of pure God essence flew into the void spirit ring. Even if his body is getting weaker and weaker, and his injuries are getting more and more serious. Even if there are incomparably harsh and hopeless difficulties waiting for him to break through. Now, he must find a way to repair the crack in the heavenly pillars as soon as possible. That way, he can hurry to the Xiojin continent and reunite with Mayan. However, looking at the increasing number of distorted cracks in the sky, a bad premonition surges in his heart. Just now, he seemed to have sensed an unusual aura from the crack in the heavenly pillars. He had also felt this aura when the poltergeist mutated and evolved in the Lingxi Valley. Dijun, why is your aura getting weaker and weaker? Yu Yanran's voice suddenly rings, bringing Di Mingju back from his thoughts. He turns his head to look, only to find that Yu Yanran has already approached him at some point. A pair of beautiful eyes are filled with worry as they stare at him. Di Mingju says indifferently, "Ben Jun is fine." Yu Yanran's line of sight falls on the void spirit ring between his fingers. Suddenly, her face changes greatly. Void spirit ring. You are transferring divine essence to someone? No wonder you were injured so badly. Her voice carries a sobbing tone. Who is so selfish that they actually let you transfer divine essence to them at this time? Dijun, don't you know that doing this will put their lives in danger? Her trembling hand stretches out, seemingly wanting to touch Di Mingju's hand. But Di Mingju casually takes a step back and directly avoids it. Looking at her, his eyes carry a trace of aloofness and alienation. In fact, Di Mingju has always been like this. Aloof, cold, and unapproachable. In the past, Yu Yanran was used to it, and could also keep her dignity. But these days, every moment, she would think of the scene she saw in the Soul Shadow. This indifferent man, showing a gentle expression to the girl next to him. This Dijun, who has never put anyone in his eyes, only has the shadow of that one person in his eyes. She has been silently watching over him for so many years, from the budding age to the first awakening of love to now. Although she still has a youthful appearance, she is already 1,000 years old. So many noble families came to ask for her hand in marriage, so many young talents bitterly chasing after her, but she was not moved in the slightest. Only for this man to look back at her one day. She knew that she was still there, silently watching over him and loving him. However, this was the ending she had been waiting for. Yu Yanran's eyes welled up with tears as she sobbed. "Brother Ah Ju, have you forgotten? We grew up together. When we were young, you risked your life to save me. Why did he have to be so distant from Yanran? You're injured, and I want to heal you. Can I do that?" She said these words very softly, but they came from the bottom of her heart, full of sadness and emotion. Even the most stone-hearted man in the world couldn't help but be moved. However, Dimingju only coldly glances at her, opening his mouth to say, "First, it wasn't risking my life, it was in passing. Second, Ben Jun is married. Hope Jade Island's master knows to avoid arousing suspicion. Third, can your medical skills compare to the Polar Domain's doctors?" Puff. Listening to their conversation from behind, Han Yi couldn't help but burst out laughing. "Jun Shang, don't be so cruel and merciless, ah? These first, second, and third, aren't each sentence more pricking Yu Yanran's heart? Don't you see that Yu Yanran's complexion is already green, tears pouring down her face, her body on the verge of collapse, unable to hold on? Mobile users, please browse and read. For a better reading experience, please visit Zii. Chapter 2987. He really doesn't know how to have tender and protective feelings for the fair sex. Just at this time, another member of the devil race ridiculed the two of them. Yu Yanran finally exploded. "Shut up. Please don't spout nonsense anymore. I have nothing to do with the Emperor. The Emperor, the woman the Emperor wants to marry, is someone else." As she spoke, tears of grievance and sadness finally fell from her eyes. Everyone was stunned and even forgot to quarrel. If the Polar Domain's Divine Empress is not Yu Yanran, then who could it be? My God, what sort of woman would make the Emperor Monarch abandon even the #1 beauty of the continent? Look at Fairy Yanran's heartbroken appearance. Could it be that she was abandoned by the Polar region's Imperial Lord? Huang Shouchuan had just arrived with the 12 nimble guards. When he heard the shocked discussions of the crowd, he was instantly enraged. Without thinking, she rushed down to support Yu Yanran. "Miss, what's wrong? Did someone bully you?" Yu Yanran pushed Huang Shouchuan away, wiped the tears off her face, and said solemnly, "I'm fine." Huang Shouchuan gritted his teeth and said, "Miss, since we're not needed here, why don't we go back first?" Yu Yanran glances at Dimingju and bites her lip. In the end, she refuses to agree. At this time, Tianhe, who is the most outspoken, feels that he has caught hold of Dimingju's weakness. He immediately laughs wildly. "I heard that Dimingju's father, Xian, was famous for being dissolute and passionate. Those lovers, those illegitimate children, they are everywhere in the 3 realms. Except for Dimingju, everyone else's aptitude is mediocre, and they died several hundred years ago. TSK. Fortunately, our demon race is wise and didn't let the princess marry this kind of scum. From the looks of it, that pretty boy from the Netherworld region is much better than the Polar region's sovereign emperor." As he said that, he looked at Yu Yanran with a smile. "I'll unlord you. You don't have to be in such a hurry to be sad. If I can't be the main wife, I can secretly be a concubine and give birth to an illegitimate child. Who knows, maybe the mother will become more powerful because of the child and get what I want." After all, the previous extreme domain divine empress didn't even last a few years before she died. As soon as he said this, everyone's expression changed. Devil Blade really wanted to rush forward and cover his mouth. However, he was still a step too late. As soon as Tianhe finished speaking, he felt his vision blur. He felt a bone-chilling coldness on his neck. A deep and cold voice slowly rang in her ears. Repeat what you just said. Tianhe, who had never been afraid of anything, felt a chill run down his spine at this moment. He opened his mouth to speak, but suddenly felt a sharp pain in his chest. Then, something grabbed the demon core in his body, and strands of icy cold energy poured into the surface of the demon core. Ah! He let out a shrill scream, and his face instantly turned ashen. Let go of the Milky Way! Dimingju, you dare to kill someone from my devil's domain. Yao Dao, wine boy. And Xue Jie roared and rushed forward. Star Wolf sneered. Do you think there is no one in our polar domain? Bang! The two sides clashed in an instant. At this time, Hanye's complexion is also as cold as frost. He no longer has the calm and mischievous smile from before. Insulting my polar domain's monarch and holy empress, and you still want to escape unscathed? Do you really think that our polar domain is a vegetarian? Isn't it just refusing to marry that impoverished princess of yours? Hee, you're already angry from shame? Wine boy raged. Who are you calling impoverished? Chapter 2988. Star Wolf sneered. We still haven't even found a shadow of the princess. If she isn't a ruined family, then what is she? Today, I can tell you what demon princess. Our Jun Shang is disgusting to death. He will never marry her. Just give up. Boom! A black light flashed. Jun Shirtian finally made his move. His first target was naturally Dimingju, who was about to crush Tianhe's demon core. Two figures instantly soared into the sky, intertwining. Elder Chang was worried about Dimingju's body, anxiously shouting, Jun Shang, Demon Lord, stop. Everything is just a misunderstanding. However, at this time, the people of the demon domain and polar domain were really in a killing frenzy. No one could listen to him anymore. Elder Chang anxiously looked at defeating armies. Defeating armies shook his head at him, even if they knew that this was not the right time to fight with the demons. But the demons had already humiliated them if they still blindly retreated. The polar domain would be trampled into the Earth's core, losing all dignity. Right now, it was no longer a matter of whether the Emperor and the Demon Lord wanted to fight. But both sides had no choice but to fight. Defeating armies withdrew his gaze, his eyes focused, waving his hand. Ghost Murder Division, follow me to kill the demons. Understood. Tianhe escaped from death after the fright. He was seething with anger. Fuck. Polar Domain's bastards. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Sons of the demon race, go up for me. Kill all these despicable spirit cultivators. For a moment, battle cries shook the sky. Even if there were no ghosts, what awaited them would be rivers of blood, a disaster of annihilation. At this time, a strangely shaped flying boat sped over from the distant sky. Seeing the flying boat from afar, Tianhe couldn't help but be overjoyed. It's my demon race's imperial shuttle. Our reinforcements have come. Ha ha! Your polar domain is dead this time. The imperial shuttle of heaven landed. A dense army of demons, dressed in black uniforms, emerged from the Heaven Guard shuttles in a single file. At the sight of this, Elder Chang's heart sank. The divine power in his body slowly revolved, and he jumped a step forward. However, before he could make a move against the demons, he saw a familiar figure rush out of the Imperial shuttle, hurriedly running towards the center of the battlefield. Elder Chang immediately recognized that it was Elder Min Wei of the demon race. He was holding something in his hands, and his face was full of anxiety. He completely disregarded the tense atmosphere around him and shouted at Jun Shirtian, Demon Lord, come and take a look. Young Master has a fever and is still unconscious. In the air, Jun Shirtian hears this and pushes Diming Ju away with a palm. He completely disregarded the possibility of a sneak attack from behind. He flew towards the direction of Minwei. Diming Ju knits his brows, his line of sight falling on the lump in Minwei's arms. With a thought, Zhang Xian followed suit. Jun Shirtan landed on the ground and asked sternly, What's going on? Didn't I ask you to bring him back to the demon domain to take care of him? This subordinate doesn't know either. Min Wei frowned. Little young master suddenly became like this. We're not spirit cultivators, so we can't see anything. That's why I had no choice but to bring the young master to you, Demon Lord. As he spoke, Min Wei lifted the black cloth covering his shoulders. A little boy who looked like he was carved out of jade appeared. The little boy's eyes were half closed, and his face was flushed. His expression was blurry and painful, as if he was suffering from some kind of torture. But even so, his little face still looked so calm and mature. Elder Chong, who had just rushed over and saw this scene, stopped in his tracks. He cursed in his heart, and his whole body froze. Chapter 2989. On the other side, the little boy seemed to sense a familiar aura fluctuation, and he slowly opened his eyes. Her icy blue eyes blinked weakly and gradually focused. Jun Shirtian frowned. He took a step forward and was about to check the little boy's dantian. The little boy suddenly reached out his hand. His exquisite and beautiful little face revealed a softness and fragility that could melt a person's heart. Her voice was soft and hoarse, filled with endless grievance and longing. Jun Shirtian's originally ice-cold heart suddenly felt as if it was soaked in hot spring water. It could no longer be cold and hard. He stretched out his hand to catch the little fellow who had leaned over. Unexpectedly, the small body passed by him and pounced on him. In Deming Ju's bosom. Father. Xiao Bao tried hard to suppress the urge to cry, but his tears still flowed out like pearls from a broken necklace. Daddy, Xiao Bao finally found you. Jun Shirtian's hand froze. Min Wei abruptly turns his head, looking incredulously at Deming Ju, then at Xiao Bao. He could almost hear his neck crack. What's going on? This little boy they picked up on the road, the only one whom they, the Demon Lord, looked favorably upon, was actually the son of the Polar Domain sovereign. Wait a minute. When did the Polar Domain Empyrean Lord have a son? At some point in time, the noisy battlefield quieted down. Whether it was the spirit cultivators or the devil cultivators, whether it was the people from the Polar Domain or the people from the Devil Domain, all of them looked at the scene in front of them with a dumbfounded expression. What was going on? The heaven-soaring shuttle of the Devil race had arrived, not to help them in battle, but to deliver a baby to the Devil Lord. But the little baby who was delivered threw himself into Deming Ju's arms and called Daddy. Wait a minute, what relationship did this little doll have with the Devil race? The people of the Polar Domain were even more confused. Didn't Little Master go missing? Why was he together with the Devil race? From the looks of it, the Demon Lord was treating their young master very well. So, should they fight or not? Seeing this scene, Yi Yanran felt as though she had been struck by lightning. His body swayed slightly, almost unable to stand firm. Miss, are you all right? Yu Yanran grabbed Huang Shouchuan's hand tightly and said in a hoarse voice, How is this possible? How could he really be married? How could he have a son? Deming Ju, how can you get married? How could she have a son with Jun Mayan? How can you be worthy of my many years of silent protection and waiting? Tears streamed down her red eyes once again. Compared to the sadness from before, the tears this time were more of the despair from the many years of waiting for nothing. Seeing Yu Yin ran like this, Huang Shouchuan felt his heart wrench. Miss, don't be sad. There are still a lot of strange things in this matter. Didn't we send people to Yanwu continent to investigate? Very soon, there will be news back. What's more, so what if that Jun Mayan really gave birth to a son for the emperor? Huang Shouchuan's eyes emitted a faint cold light. He's just the son of a lowly female cultivator. How could he have the qualifications to become the successor of the Polar Domain? Miss, you still have a chance. At this moment, Xiao Bao's soft little hands are tightly wrapped around Deming Ju's neck, unwilling to let go for even a moment. He kept telling himself that he was already a man and that he shouldn't cry anymore, but the grievance and worry in his heart made it impossible for him to pretend to be strong. Chapter 2990. Daddy, Mother, she's in so much pain. Xiao Bao is so worried about her. Father, do you think Mother will be all right? Deming Ju extends his hand and carefully wipes away the tears on Xiaobao's face. His usually grave and stern face is stained with a gentleness that has never been seen before. Naturally, it's nothing. I absolutely won't let anything happen to Mayan. Really? When has your father ever lied to you? Xiaobao wiped away his tears and nodded heavily. Xiaobao believes in Daddy. Deming Ju transmits his spiritual energy into Xiaobao's body. Once he's sure that he's a little better, he slowly lets out a breath. He knows that Xiaobao and Mu Yin, mother and son, are connected. Xiaobao can also feel the pain that Mu Yin is suffering. His small body can't bear such heavy worry and fear, so he has a fever. Touching his still, somewhat hot forehead, Deming Ju asks softly, "Do you want to return to the Xiojin continent?" Xiaobao nodded, then shook his head. Tears slid down his face, but he quickly wiped them away. Xiaobao misses mother very, very much, but little treasure knew that Daddy couldn't leave right now. Xiaobao remembers what Daddy said. The polar domain is Daddy's responsibility, and it is also Xiaobao's responsibility, so I can't leave now. Deming Ju's heart aches, and he lowers his head to kiss him on the forehead. The void spirit ring on his finger emitted a dazzling light that enveloped the two of them. It was as if the three of them had always been together and had never been separated. Defeating armies, and the others no longer cared about fighting and hurried over. After examining Xiaobao for a long time and confirming that there were no injuries on his body, he heaved a long sigh of relief. Your subordinates have failed in their task and caused Little Master to encounter danger. Please punish us. Defeating armies kneeled on the ground. Those from the Falling Moon tribe and the Ghost Killer tribe who were responsible for protecting Xiaobao also knelt down. Xiaobao shook his head. Uncle Pajun, please get up. I'm fine. Soon after, as if he suddenly thought of something, he turned his head to look for Jun Shirtian and said, Father, it was Uncle Black Robe who saved Xiaobao. He even sent Xiaobao back. Her big eyes glanced at Jun Shirtian and suddenly flashed. Uncle in Black, this is my father. Thank you for helping Xiaobao find Daddy. Jun Shirtian, he was still in a daze. The honored demon, who had always remained calm even when Mount Tai collapsed in front of him, was still in a daze. He didn't expect that this little baby, who had made him feel inexplicably amiable at first glance, was actually Deming Ju's son. When did Deming Ju have a son? Daddy, Uncle Blackrobed, is a very, very good person. But Xiaobao saw you two fighting just now? Why are you fighting? These words are directed to Deming Ju and also to Jun Shirtian. For a moment, the most superior big shots on both sides were speechless. Xiaobao breaks free from Deming Ju's embrace. He slowly walked towards Jun Shirtian. Pulling the hem of his shirt, she raised her head. A pair of icy blue eyes stared unblinkingly at Jun Shirtian. Uncle Blackrobe, Xiaobao misses mother. But if we don't kill all the poltergeist ghosts, Father can't accompany Xiaobao to find mother. Uncle Blackshirt, don't fight with Daddy. Let's kill the poltergeist ghost together, okay? Xiaobao usually only behaves like an ordinary 6-year-old child in front of Deming Ju and Mu Yin. But at this moment, facing Jun Shirtian, he unconsciously revealed the expression of a spoiled child. Even the ice-cold Xiaobao could be so adorable. Not to mention this soft and adorable little baby who is anxiously looking at him. Chapter 2991. Jun Shirtian only felt that his killing intent and viciousness that wanted to beat Polar Domain into a sorry state has disappeared without a trace. Not to mention Jun Shirtian, even Min Wei who protected Xiaobao all the way. Seeing this snow, jade-like little baby pleading, his heart is about to melt. He really wishes he could bring all the best treasures in the world in front of him. Fine, I won't fight anymore. Min Wei said, Young Master is right. What's the point of fighting and killing? What kind of joke is this? Tianhe bellowed. Polar Domain humiliated our demon race princess like this, and we just let go like this? Why should a little baby say not to fight? Before he finished speaking, Minwei already took out a silver hammer that is 10 times bigger than the Blood Devil hammer and ruthlessly smashed it on Tiana's head. You shut up. In this current situation, there is no way you can't help but add fuel to the fire. Just you wait. When we return, see how I'll take care of you. As he scolded, he used the silver hammer to smash Tiana's body. Tiana screamed from being smashed, covering his head and scurrying away like a rat, not daring to retaliate. Minwei smashed until he was satisfied, then kept his silver hammer. When he faced Xiaobao, he immediately restored his kind and amiable smile. I really didn't expect that young master's father is actually the Polar Domain's sovereign lord. Truly like father, like son. I wonder where young master's mother is. If she is in danger, my demon race can also lend a hand. Cough, cough. Elder Chong coughed lightly and walked forward. Minwei, enough. Now, is not the time to talk about this. Right now, the nightmare ghosts are wreaking havoc. The heavenly pillar has not been completely repaired. If our two sides fight like this, it would be too outrageous. Minwei laughed and said, Elder Chong, long time no see. You also know that our demon race has always been outspoken. If we offended your polar domain, please don't take it to heart. Elder Chong, our polar domain is also in the wrong. Xinglang's face is calm. He still wanted to speak. Elder Chong covered his mouth and slapped him to the side. Then he said with a smile, So both sides stopped fighting? Minwei glanced at Jun Shirtian. Seeing that Jun Shirtian has no intention to oppose, he immediately laughed and said, Looking at the young noble's face, I won't hit him. Come. Let's sit together and discuss how to repair the crack and kill the poltergeist ghosts. As a result, the two sides that were fighting to the death just a quarter of an hour ago were now in a completely different situation. A quarter of an hour later, they were forced to gather together to discuss the great plan of mending the heavens. Amitabha, due to his severe injuries, Master Jing Yuan was unable to stop the battle. At this moment, he chanted a Buddhist proclamation and revealed a gratified smile. Emperor Lord, you really have a good son. He had inexplicably eliminated an apocalyptic calamity without a trace. Moreover, based on the young boy's appearance and bones, he actually possessed a rare immortal physique, and he had gathered the great karmic luck of the heavens and the earth for his entire life. Such a person, regardless of good or evil, had a high chance of influencing the direction of destiny in the future. Minwei and several other demons look at Di Mingju in displeasure, as well as the well-behaved Xiaobao in his arms. I'm so jealous. Why can Di Mingju give birth to such a cute baby? Why haven't they found their princess yet? If they find her, she can quickly give birth to a baby like the young noble for them to play with. The polar domain side also feels honored. Chapter 2992. The polar domain's people share the glory. What kind of person is their Di Jun? His flesh and blood are naturally the most outstanding in the world. The demons are jealous, right? Jealous to death. The little master is also from their polar domain. Apart from Elder Chong, Han Yi, and a few others who are no, almost no one doubts that Xiaobao isn't Di Mingju's biological son. Why? Because they have an almost identical pair of ice blue eyes. Although there are quite a few people in the three realms who have the same eye color. This was because the minute movements and expressions between their movements were almost exactly the same, even though the two of them don't look alike. Di Mingju's facial features are hard and deep, while Xiaobao is more delicate and delicate. But how could these two people not be father and son? On the contrary, Elder Chong and the others are well aware that before their Jun Shang met Miss Jun, he had never been close to any woman. Calculating from Xiaobao's age, 6 or 7 years ago, Di Mingju was in seclusion in the polar domain. He hasn't come out for more than 10 years. Therefore, no matter what, Xiaobao can't be Di Mingju's child. They hadn't even thought of such a thing. Only defeating armies. Only he looks at this scene and listens to everyone's discussion, his hands tightly clenched into fists. He can't delay any longer. As soon as this matter is settled, he must immediately go to the Yinwu continent to investigate the truth of that year. Heavenly Pillar has 4 cores. It stands to reason that 4 immortal venerables are required to enter the crack at the same time to repair it. But with the cultivation of June and the demon venerables, repairing 2 hearts at the same time wouldn't be a difficult task. The only thing worth worrying about is that once Heavenly Pillar's repair begins, those vortexes formed by the spatial distortions will disappear. The poltergeist ghosts will once again fall in an endless stream. If 2 more rank 4 poltergeist ghosts appear, I'm afraid that it would be extremely difficult for us to deal with them. The 2 poltergeist ghosts that nearly wiped out everyone just now are rank 4 poltergeist ghosts that haven't appeared for thousands of years. At that time, above the hidden abyss, there were the 4 demon generals, Tianhe, Yao Dao, Jiutong, and Shui Jie, as well as the 3 leaders of the Polar Domain's Imperial Guard. But facing 2 rank 4 poltergeist ghosts, they're practically powerless. Hollow Immortal, Golden Immortal, Profound Immortal, Immortal King, Immortal Venerables, Immortal Emperor. It could be said that those under Venerables have no power to retaliate in front of rank 4 poltergeist ghosts. This was because an attack below the Immortal Venerable realm could not cause any fatal damage to a rank 4 poltergeist ghost. However, as long as one reached the Immortal Reverent realm, the invincible defense of the level 4 poltergeist ghosts would be broken, and killing them would be extremely simple. This is also the reason why Diming Ju and Jun Shirtian could easily kill the 2 poltergeist ghosts that had forced tens of thousands of people into a dead end. The crack in the barrier reopened. If it was a poltergeist ghost that was below rank 3, these people would have more than enough to deal with it. But if 2 more rank 4 poltergeist dropped, I've already recovered some of my dermic powers. Although I can't help the Imperial Lord and the Demon Supremacy to mend the heavens, I should be able to protect everyone if it's just dealing with the 4th stage poltergeist ghosts. This is great. Master Jing Yuan is an immortal venerable. Even if a rank 4 poltergeist comes, he can deal with it. Jing Yuan looks at Di Ming Ju again. It's just that Di Jun was seriously injured in order to save this poor monk. I don't know. Not waiting for the little monk to finish speaking, Di Ming Ju already gets up and says, Bin Jun is fine. Since we've already confirmed it, let's end it quickly. These words were directed at Jun Shirtian. Chapter 2993. These words were directed at Jun Shirtian. His tone was very impolite. The devils were filled with anger again. Tiana almost sent out his blood demon hammer again. However, Min Wei managed to restrain himself in the end. Xiao Bao raises his head to look at Di Ming Ju. His little face is ice cold, but his big eyes flicker with reluctance, worship, and attachment. Daddy, be careful. Di Ming Ju rubs his head. Wait for Daddy to come back. Yes. Xiao Bao nodded heavily. He then looked at Jun Shirtian. Uncle Blackrobe, you be careful too. Jun Shirtian ignored him with a cold face. Before he left, he glanced at Min Wei. Min Wei immediately understood and said with a smile, Relax, relax, this subordinate understands. The people of the Polar Domain are clumsy and can even lose people in the Polar Domain's land boundary. It's impossible to count on them. This subordinate will definitely look after the young master. I will not let any poltergeist ghosts harm him. The people from the Polar Domain almost spat out a mouthful of blood. What did he mean by them being clumsy? What do you mean you can't count on them? This was their little master, not a member of the Devil Clan. Why did they need this group of demons to overstep their boundaries? Di Ming Ju and Jun Shirtian didn't say anything else and directly rushed up to the horizon. As the 2 figures disappeared behind the pitch-black crack, the vortex in the sky that was formed by the distortion of space slowly disappeared. The poltergeist ghosts that had been continuously crushed started to fall one after another. In just a few moments, this area was once again filled with poltergeist ghosts. Of course, no one would be stupid enough to fight against these densely packed poltergeist ghosts head-on. Before the crack was completely mended, the poltergeist ghosts were inexhaustible. Even if he used his immortal power to incinerate it here, these poltergeist ghosts were not really dead, but they would turn into a pool of blood and seep into the soil. Soon after, he would be reborn somewhere in the Shoshin continent. What's more, Ghoul's fangs and claws were poisonous. Once the skin was scratched, it would be infected. Without the Heaven Spirit detoxification pill, he would soon become a monster like the poltergeist. Although the polar domain had brought a lot of Heaven Spirit detoxification pills, it was not inexhaustible. They would have to be idiots to rush out and face the horde of poltergeist ghosts head-on. Thereupon, the grand phaseless array was once again propped up, looking at the ferocious ghouls baring their fangs and baring their sharp teeth. For the first time, the spirit cultivators and devil cultivators found them adorable. Compared to the Class 4 poltergeist, dealing with these Class 1 and Class 2 poltergeists was too easy. All they needed to do was to sit here and watch them put on a good show. In the corner of the formless great array, the people of the nether domain stood there with ugly expressions on their faces. It was as if he was isolated by everyone present. No one was counting on them to repair the crack in the heavenly pillar. Even when dealing with the poltergeist ghosts, everyone followed Grandmaster Jing Yuan, the polar domain, and the demon's lead. No one cared about them at all. They were one of the top 3 forces in the world of cultivators, the netherworld. Yu Chun was a master at the Immortal King realm, and En Yuani had the 3rd grade Dark En Holy Flame. But at this moment, they were completely ignored. How could the people of the Nether realm, who had always thought highly of themselves, endure this? But in the end, who was to blame? The people of the Nether realm glanced at En Yuani from time to time. It was all because of En Yuani's extremely useless performance when the Class 4 poltergeist ghosts attacked. The effect of the Dark En Holy Flame couldn't be exerted at all. Chapter 2994. Afraid of death, he used spirit cultivators and devil cultivators as shields. Even 2 people from another realm were pushed into the mouths of the poltergeist ghost by him. Such a coward was actually the young master of the nether realm, compared with Di Mingju, who was in his prime in the polar domain, and the 7-year-old heir who was treated differently by the demon Venerable. If they were the demon Venerable, they wouldn't marry their daughter to this kind of trash. Everyone couldn't help but shake their heads in disappointment. Even Yu Chen's attitude towards En Yuani became colder and more impatient. En Yuani was so angry that his heart, liver, spleen, lungs, and kidneys were about to explode. He gritted his teeth and stared at Mu Luyun, transmitting his voice. Is this what you meant by watching them suffer heavy casualties, and then sitting back and reaping the benefits? Mu Luyun chuckled. Young master, don't worry. The show hasn't started yet, has it? He slowly stretched out his hand and handed a small black porcelain bottle to En Yuani. Young master, you just need to pour the contents of this bottle on the 2 dead poltergeist ghosts. I promise you, you will get what you want soon. En Yuani took the bottle and looked at it suspiciously. There was no spiritual power fluctuation or talisman marks on it. It was as if it was just an ordinary porcelain bottle. En Yuani frowned. What is this? Hee. As I said, this is a good thing that can make young master's wish come true. En Yuani glanced outside the barrier. At this time, more and more poltergeist ghosts fell from the crack. They were so densely packed that the ground was almost full. Even in the abyss, poltergeist ghosts fell from time to time. But the strange thing was that there was nothing around the bodies of the 2 4th-rank poltergeist ghosts. Those low-rank poltergeist ghosts seemed to be afraid of something and naturally took a detour. En Yuani said unhappily, "Why don't you pour it yourself?" With so many poltergeist ghosts outside, he didn't want to go out of the non-phase great array at all. Mu Liyun raised the corner of his mouth sarcastically. This kind of idiot, if not for his special identity, might be useful. He didn't even want to talk to him. His face didn't show the slightest emotion, and his smile was still gentle and feminine. If young master is worried about being haunted by the poltergeist ghosts, you only need to take this pill that can temporarily hide your breath. Mu Liyun took out a small pill and handed it to En Yuani. His low voice carried a hint of bewitchment. Whether it is the polar domain or the demon race, they all look down on you and humiliate you without the slightest scruple. Young master, don't you want to push them into hell with your own hands, then stand by the side and watch them cry and howl in despair? Ying Yuan's eyes suddenly became misty and resentful. He murmured, "Yes. This young master will personally push them into hell. I want them to know the consequences of offending me." He swallowed the medicinal pill in one gulp and tightly gripped the porcelain bottle in his hand. Under Mu Liuyun's cover, he quietly left the barrier. Debi Temple is in the far east. Why would Master Jing Yuan come to the southwest? Umipa. Jing Yuan smiled faintly, a hint of nostalgia on his handsome face. This poor monk heard news of senior brother, so I came to look for you. Elder Chong was taken aback. Everyone knew that Bodhidharma of Debi Temple had 3 disciples. The youngest was Jing Yuan. The most powerful one was Buddhist monk Shan Hui, who was the true ruler of Debi Temple. The second disciple, whose Buddhist name was Wu Che, disappeared many years ago. So far, no one knew where he went. Chapter 2995. 1 second. Remember, LoveNet, providing you with wonderful reading. Hani can't help but ask, "Did you find him?" Jing Yuan smiles bitterly and shakes his head. "I'm sorry. It's all right." The little monk puts his palms together, his expression calm and solemn. Master once said, "Everything is up to fate. Nothing can be forced." This little monk has gotten used to it over the years. Used to looking for him as soon as he hears the news. However, he always finds that it's just an empty joy. Elder Chong smiles gently. Debi Temple has been delivering all living beings from suffering all these years with compassion in its heart. I believe that good people will be rewarded. One day, we will find Master Wu Che. Boom! Before Elder Chang's voice falls, the earth suddenly trembles violently. In fact, because there are so many poltergeists jumping around, the ground has been slightly shaking. But this time, the tremor is completely different. Everyone raised their heads to look. Heavens! This can't be real. Why are there rank 4 poltergeists? Outside the non-phase array, 2 huge poltergeists, as tall as mountains, stand there. Their turbid eyes are staring at everyone here. Han Yi looks around, and his complexion suddenly changes. Where are the corpses of the 2 rank 4 poltergeists? Everyone looks and is also shocked. That's right. Weren't the corpses of the 2 rank 4 poltergeists lying there just now? Why are they gone? Did they not die just now? Could it be that the rank 4 poltergeists can't be killed? Then what should we do? Aren't we dead for sure? Jing Yuan waves his hand, and the non-phase golden alms bowl falls into his hand. He injects his divine sense into the alms bowl, and the non-phase array that shrouds the surroundings immediately disappears. Countless poltergeists are howling and about to rush in. The people inside are suddenly in a mess. Many people have already let out shrill screams and are about to flee in panic. Everyone, please listen to this poor monk. Jing Yuan holds the alms bowl and says in a clear voice, "Don't panic. Form a formation in 3s and 4s, and try to ensure that you won't be hurt by the poltergeists. As for these 2 giant poltergeists, this poor monk will do his best to resist them. Since this poor monk promised Dijun and Demon Zun to protect you, this poor monk will never go back on his word." He pursed his lips, his expression cold and solemn. At this moment, that slightly immature face actually revealed a trace of solemnity that made people want to prostrate themselves in worship. The panicking crowd gradually calmed down because of his words. At this time, Han Yi also shouted, "Those whose cultivation is below golden immortal, gather around me." Tian he harumphed and also shouted, "Those demons who aren't strong enough, obediently come over and hide. Don't get in the way." Not long after, the chaotic situation was stabilized. The panic in everyone's hearts gradually subsided. In the corner, when Mu Luyun saw this scene, the corners of his lips curled up faintly. "Do you think that this is the end?" "No, this is just the beginning." He raises his head and looks at the huge crack. For the first time, his feminine voice carries a hoarse excitement. "I really didn't expect that it would be so easy to catch Di Ming Ju and Jun Shitian in one fell swoop. I really have to thank you. I believe that Master will be happy to see this scene. Jing Yuan gang heaved a sigh of relief as the situation was gradually under control. Suddenly, a strange energy fluctuation came over, causing the circulation of his body's magic power to stagnate. Jing Yuan's heart thumped, and a bad premonition suddenly welled up inside him. Just now, in the crack of heavenly pillar, before he was injured, he felt this extremely strange energy fluctuation. Mobile users, please browse and read. For a better reading experience, please visit Zii. Chapter 2996. Jing Yuan was still thinking about what this aura that was completely different from normal poltergeist ghost energy waves was. He felt that his internal organs had been severely injured. By the time he came to his senses, he was already powerless to retaliate. If Diming Ju hadn't saved him in the nick of time, he would have already breathed his last. Now that this energy fluctuation had appeared, what did it mean? Jing Yuan's doubts were quickly answered. In the sky, a huge gust of wind suddenly swept up. All the spiritual qi, immortal qi, devil qi, and even the murderous aura of the poltergeist ghost seemed to be pulled by an invisible hand and mixed together. In an instant, an energy storm was formed. The formation that was originally arranged was blown away. The people inside didn't even have the chance to scream before they were devoured by the poltergeist ghosts. For a time, wailing and wailing filled the air above the hidden abyss once more, and it was a tragic sight to behold. Defeating armies didn't care about other people's lives, and he didn't even pay close attention to the safety of the people from the polar domain. He just hugged Xiao Bao tightly and swung the sword in his hand, killing the poltergeist ghosts that pounced on him. Min Wei had originally wanted to rush over to protect Xiao Bao. Seeing that defeating armies had protected him so well, he heaved a sigh of relief and focused on dealing with the poltergeist ghosts. Among the polar domain's 4 guards, defeating armies had always been the most low-key. Usually, he hides by Diming Ju's side like a shadow, making people almost forget his existence. But only now did Min Wei realize how strong defeating armies was. He was probably not much weaker than Master Jing Yuan, right? As soon as this thought flashed through his mind, Min Wei tossed it to the back of his mind. Now that it was a matter of life and death, the most important thing now was to wait for the demon Venerable and Imperial Emperor to repair the heavenly pillars and survive this ordeal. Defeating armies cleared out a large number of poltergeist ghosts, but he did not do anything else. Instead, he raised his head and looked at the vortex with a solemn expression. Uncle Pajuan. Xiao Bao immediately saw something from defeating armies' expression. His little hand suddenly grabbed defeating armies' collar tightly. Uncle defeating armies, will Daddy be in danger? Defeating armies couldn't bear to see Xiao Bao's anxious and terrified expression, and was about to say a few words of comfort. However, a loud roar came from the sky. Then, 2 figures, accompanied by countless poltergeist ghosts, fell straight down from the vortex. Defeating armies' expression changed drastically. Xiao Bao also shouted, "Daddy!" Diming Ju and Jun Shitian fall into the air, stabilizing their bodies. However, their appearances were indescribably miserable. Both of their faces were deathly pale. Something has dug a big hole in Diming Ju's chest. Blood was dripping everywhere, and one could even see the broken ribs inside. Jun Shitian wasn't any better. His body seemed to be intact, but there was a thick black aura lingering around him. Anyone from the demon race would know that it was because the demon body had been severely damaged. He could only use the demon origin energy in his demon core to repair it. This black gas was the mana pool that was repairing his body. Once the source of mana was reduced, it was irreversible. Emperor, Demon Sovereign, what the hell happened? The people below screamed in panic. Raising his head, he saw that the huge whirlpool was 3 times larger than before. It was not repaired at all, but the Celestial Emperor and the Demon Venerable were heavily injured. But how could this be? Suddenly, a small, blood-red head poked out of the huge vortex. Then, a humanoid creature about 2 meters tall drilled out of the whirlpool. This creature was extremely strange. It looked like a human. Chapter 2997. His whole body was blood red, as if a person had been skinned, leaving only bloody flesh and bones. However, his face did not have the facial features of an ordinary person. Instead, there were only a dozen pairs of eyes that overlapped each other, and a huge mouth that almost split his entire face apart. What is that thing? Is it a poltergeist ghost? I've never seen such a poltergeist ghost. Jing Yuan's face was solemn. Suddenly, as if remembering something, he quickly took out a jade archive from his bosom. Pouring his divine sense into it, Jing Yuan couldn't help but cry out, "Rank 6 poltergeist ghost. How is this possible?" Even in a millennium catastrophe, only rank 5 poltergeist ghosts would appear. How could it be this time? How could a rank 6 poltergeist ghost appear? No wonder even Emperor Ming-ju and Jun Shitian couldn't mend the heavens. No wonder they were so heavily injured. From time to time, people would be swept up by the energy storm, thrown into the poltergeist ghosts and devoured. The 2 huge rank 4 poltergeist ghosts were still launching fierce attacks at him. Even with Jing Yuan's strong mind, he couldn't help but feel despair. In this world, no one could be a match for a rank 6 poltergeist ghost. Is the Shoshin continent really finished? Miss, be careful. Because Jing Yuan's mind was distracted, he couldn't completely pin down the 2 rank 4 poltergeist ghosts. One of them unexpectedly ran to the people of Linglong Island at some point. Yu Yin Ran's cultivation was the highest, and her physique was pure. She became the poltergeist ghost's first prey. But because she was only paying attention to the Ming-ju in the sky, she didn't notice. Huang Shouchuan rushed over and pressed her to the ground. But the rank 4 poltergeist ghost movements were extremely fast. Its second palm immediately slapped down with a huge suction force, leaving them with nowhere to hide. Seeing the sharp fangs so close, Yu Yin Ran's eyes widened in horror, scared out of her wits. Huang Shouchuan was also scared out of his wits, but when he felt Yu Yin Ran's trembling body, he felt pity for her and calmed down. He shouted, "What are you waiting for? Protect the miss. Even if you have to sacrifice your life, protect the miss." When the 12 exquisite guards heard this, some hesitated in fear, while others gritted their teeth and charged forward to attack the poltergeist ghosts. But in his eyes, there was only the even more delicious Yu Yin Ran. He pushed her aside and continued pouncing towards them. A ruthless glint flashed in Huang Shouchuan's eyes. He raised his hand, grabbed 2 exquisite guards, and stuffed them into the mouths of the poltergeist ghosts. "Ah!" The shrill cries caused Yu Yin Ran's face to turn pale. "Brother Huang, how could you?" Huang Shouchuan said calmly, "The duty of the 12 exquisite guards is to protect you with their lives. These people cowered in the face of danger, and their deaths are not to be regretted. The Linglong guards can still be nurtured, but if you die, Linglong Island will be finished." As he spoke, he sneered as he looked at the other exquisite dragon guards who were trying to escape in fear. He grabbed them and made them his scapegoats. Yu Yin Ran's lips trembled. Thinking of the fangs that were just inches away from her, she did not speak. In her heart, however, she was thinking that if it wasn't for the Emperor, she wouldn't have risked her life in such a dirty place. But the Emperor had abandoned her sincerity like a pair of worn-out shoes, letting down her years of protection and waiting. Thinking of this, Yu Yin Ran felt miserable. It was as if all the grievances and sorrows in the world were concentrated on her. Hence, she no longer cared about what Huang Shouchuan did. Chapter 2998. The poltergeist ghosts did not reject any food that was sent into their mouths, and they needed some time to swallow and chew. This period of time was very short, but it gave Huang Shouchuan and Yu Yinren a chance of survival, because the blood-red nightmare that poked its head out of the vortex jumped down from the sky. Di Ming-ju and Jun Shitian's movements are extremely fast. The moment the Class 6 poltergeist jumped down, it transformed into a sword light and charged forward. Cluck, cluck, cluck. The strange voice of a nightmare ghost reverberated through the world. It sounded like a mocking laugh, but also like a mournful cry. 3 figures intertwined. Then he smashed into the ground like a meteor. The earth fell into a moment of silence. Dust and smoke rose into the air. After the dust settled, 3 figures slowly appeared. The Class 6 poltergeist stuck out its long tongue and licked the wound on its chest. Countless eyes turned to look at Di-Ming-ju, then look at Jun Shirtion. There was a hint of fear in his eyes. And in front of him, Di-Ming-ju has another wound on his body. The claw mark on his left leg was so deep that the bone could be seen. But on the ring finger of his left hand, the ring had been flashing with fluorescent light without a moment of interruption. "Oh no!" Elder Chang exclaimed. "His Majesty can't hold on much longer. Only they know that Di-Ming-ju is currently consuming an enormous amount of spiritual essence." His strength was not at its peak at all. He had entered the crevice twice and was injured twice. How could his body endure it? Elder Chang rushed to Defeating Armies' side and took Xiaobao from his arms. "Defeating Armies, quick, go and help the Lord." Defeating Armies nodded. He unsheathed his long saber and sped away. At the same time, Minwei also rushed forward to help Jun Shirtion. However, the rank 6 poltergeist seemed to have noticed something. It grinned, revealing a row of sharp teeth, and let out a strange laugh. Giggle, goo, giggle. Those densely packed pairs of eyes rolled around at the same time, causing one's scalp to go numb. After the laughter, the 2 giant devouring ghosts that were fighting with Jing Yuan seemed to have received a command and suddenly charged towards it. Bang, bang, bang. Every step he took was like a boulder smashing into the ground, smashing into everyone's hearts that were on the verge of collapse. When they reached the rank 6 poltergeist, they suddenly stopped. Then, everyone saw a scene that left them in disbelief. The 2 Type 4 poltergeist stood obediently in front of the Type 6 poltergeist, allowing it to devour them. The difference in size between the two was dozens of times. But in the blink of an eye, the 2 mountains were completely devoured by it. The wound on the rank 6 poltergeist chest was healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. It raised its head and took a deep breath, revealing a carefree expression, as if it was enjoying the feeling of energy filling its body. Seeing that Di-Ming-ju, Jun Shirtion, Pajun, and Minwei are attacking him together, the ghost grinned disdainfully. The 2 eyes in the middle of his forehead suddenly flashed and closed. Then 2 poltergeist ghosts that looked almost identical to him appeared on both sides. His body was also scarlet red, as if he had been skinned. The only difference was that there was only 1 eye on the face and a long, gaping mouth. Receiving the command, the 2 one-eyed poltergeist immediately rushed towards Di-Ming-ju and Jun Shirtion. What made people alarmed is that the strength of these 2 one-eyed poltergeists is actually comparable to the rank 6 poltergeist ghost. Chapter 2999. 1 second. Remember, LoveNet, providing you with wonderful reading. For a moment, 4 people and 2 ghosts stand together. And the strongest rank 6 poltergeist, no one can resist it anymore. The overlapping eyes slowly turn and finally fall on Di-Ming-ju's body. It still remembers that it was this person's sword that pierced its chest just now. It feels a pain it hasn't tasted for a long time. This person's body still has an incomparably wonderful smell. Wait until it devours this person. Its cultivation will be greatly improved. Perhaps it can advance to the rank 7. No, wait. The rank 6 poltergeist seems to have suddenly sensed something. Those pairs of eyes turn and finally fall on Xiaobao, who is being held by Elder Chang. No, don't rush to eat the big one. There's an even more delicious one here. Swish! The rank 6 poltergeist suddenly swoops down, its figure shooting out like a spark. Elder Chang was originally holding Xiaobao, looking worriedly at Di-Ming-ju. Suddenly, he feels his vision blur. Then, a numbing chill runs up from the back of his neck. A sticky, stinky tongue is sticking to Elder Chang's neck, slowly stretching towards Xiaobao in his arms. He hears a cough sound, as if it's stuck in his throat. Elder Chang stiffly turns his head. Suddenly, He comes face to face with the densely packed eyes that are very close. For a moment, his soul is almost scared out of his body. But in a flash, he thinks of something. The poltergeist wants Xiao Bao. This beast wants to eat their polar domain's little master. Elder Chang only feels a buzz in his head. Without thinking, he reaches out and grabs that long tongue. At the same time, he throws Xiao Bao in his arms in the direction of the Yingmei. Ah! A painful moan comes from Elder Chang's mouth. The hand that is holding the poltergeist's tongue makes a sizzling sound of flesh being scorched. In just a moment, there's not a bit of skin and flesh left, revealing the charred bones. The poltergeist moves its tongue and shakes off Elder Chang. Its figure flashes, and it rushes towards the Yingmei. The Yingmei had already wanted to dodge when Elder Chang threw Xiao Bao over. But the poltergeist's movements are too fast. In just a flash, that blood-red monster is already in front of her. Countless pairs of eyes darted around. The slender mouth slowly split open, and a scarlet tongue suddenly stretched out toward Xiao Bao. Yingmei didn't even think before turning around. Poochie! The scarlet tongue pierced through the shadow demon's back, making a sizzling sound again. Xiao Bao raised his head in a daze. He felt droplets of viscous, scalding liquid dripping onto his face. It was so painful that he couldn't help but tear up. Sister Yingmei, shadow demon. Hanyi is simply going crazy. He wanted to rush over to saving Mei and Xiao Bao, but he was surrounded by hundreds of poltergeist ghosts. Yingmei felt a burning pain all over her body, and her consciousness became blurry. In her ears, Xiao Bao's calls and Hanye's howls are getting further and further away. But in her mind, there was a thought that was getting clearer and clearer. No matter what, I can't let anything happen to little master, even if she dies. Yingmei didn't know where the strength came from, but when the poltergeist was about to pull its tongue away, she grabbed the tongue and pressed it to the ground, then raised the sword in her hand and stabbed it down. Roar! The poltergeist's pained and angry roar is accompanied by the sizzling sound of flesh being scorched. Yingmei lifts her head up and shouts, "Run, little master! Quickly run!" The poltergeist ghost is finally thoroughly enraged by Yingmei. The scarlet tongue suddenly lengthens and ruthlessly coils around Yingmei, swinging her up into the air. The sound of bones breaking can be heard, accompanied by the sound of flesh and blood being scorched. Mobile users, please browse and read. For a better reading experience, please visit Zii. Chapter 3000. 1 Second Remember Love Net, providing you with exciting reading. Fresh blood rained down from the sky. Xiao Bao's pupils contracted violently. His small body trembled uncontrollably. He didn't run away as Yingmei had hoped. Instead, he took out his Bishia sword. Hum! The sword let out an ear-piercing hum. Xiao Bao held the sword that was almost as tall as him and spat out a single word, "Kill." The usually cowardly and talkative Bishia didn't make a sound this time. As soon as Xiao Bao gave the order, it shot out like a bolt of lightning. The poltergeist's tongue curled up as if it was going to swallow the dying Yingmei into its stomach. However, when the evil warding sword whistled towards his head, a sinister glint flashed in his densely packed eyes, as if his scheme had succeeded. Whoosh! A second tongue shot out from the poltergeist's mouth and flew towards Xiao Bao, wrapping around him. Young master! Elder Chang looked up at this scene, his eyes almost popping out of his sockets. He knew how terrifying that tongue was. Whether it was the talisman-patterned robe or the skin that came into contact with it, they would all be burned. Young master was still so young. How could he withstand that kind of damage? However, the expected burning sound didn't come. To Elder Chang's shock, he discovered that there was a faint glow around Xiao Bao. It formed a barrier that protected him. The sixth-rank poltergeist's almost invincible tongue couldn't penetrate this barrier. The Bishia sword left Xiao Bao's hand and floated in the air. That light, that barrier was coming from the sword. In a trance, Elder Chang saw a blurry face and strangely dressed, short-haired youth standing next to the Bishia sword. Prosperity, democracy, civility, harmony. I'm a good youth raised by the core values of socialism. Why would I be afraid of you feudal evils? as long as my soul is still here. If you hurt my young master, I'll admit defeat." The poltergeist let out a low roar. Its densely packed eyes were filled with shock and bewilderment. There seemed to be a hint of fear mixed in. However, its intelligence was limited. The fear that was rooted in its soul only flashed for a moment before it was thrown to the back of its mind. The blood-red figure flashed and appeared in front of Xiao Bao in the blink of an eye. Boom! With a light punch, the protective barrier that enveloped Xiao Bao dimmed a little. A pained expression appeared on Bai Xia's face. Xiao Bao's pupils shrunk. He shouted, "Bai Xia, come back!" Boom! With the second punch, the indestructible Bixia sword began to emit cracking sounds as fine cracks began to spread. Xiao Bao suddenly raised his voice. "Bixia, as your master, I order you to return." He frantically mobilized his divine sense, trying to retrieve the evil warding sword into his body. But the young man, who was getting more and more disorientated, gritted his teeth and grinned hideously. "Little master, this is the first time I, Bai Xia, disobeyed your orders. Don't ever forget this historic moment." Tortoise son of a bitch, skin-flaying ghost. If it weren't for the fact that I've gathered less than 1% of my energy, do you think you could be so arrogant in front of me? Go ahead and smash. Continue to smash. If I take a step back, I'm not a man. Boom! With the third punch, the light on the Bixia sword dimmed, and the young man's roaring figure slowly disappeared. Mobile users, please browse and read. For a better reading experience, please visit II. Chapter 3001. Countless cracks appeared on the body of the sword. It was as if it would shatter at the slightest touch. Tears gushed out of Xiao Bao's eyes. His small hand trembled as he held the dim Bai Xia sword in his hand. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. Bixia, was it gone forever? No, he didn't want it. 6th level. Release the Qi Fei Chue Qi Chue Song Mirage Sword. Glutinous rice, quenching the palpitations. Chanting Shuo Xiong Tuo Jia air finally. There were no more obstacles in front of it. It could enjoy its delicious food. Its scarlet tongue darted out toward Xiao Bao. With tears in his eyes, Xiao Bao stubbornly stood where he was and didn't retreat. "Young master, run!" Elder Chong shouted at the top of his lungs. But Xiao Bao didn't retreat. He thought, if I didn't run, if I didn't let others protect me, then Bixia wouldn't have disappeared. Then Ing Mei and Elder Chong wouldn't have been hurt. He didn't want to see anyone sacrifice themselves for him anymore. Swish! The sword light whistled down. The tongue that was about to touch Xiao Bao was cut into two by the sword light. No one knew when, but the tall figure had teleported in front of Xiao Bao, shielding his small figure behind him. Just like every time, it shielded him from the wind and rain. Father! But this time, he hoped that his father wouldn't come to save him. His father was already so badly injured that his clothes were dyed red with blood. Why? Why did he still rush over to save him at all costs? He wasn't his father's biological son. Roar! 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 Release the gang, 3 Chue? Zhun, the densely packed eyes were dyed red as they stared at the man in front of them. This was the second time this human had heard it. Damn it! It wouldn't allow this human to live for another moment. On the blood-red head, 1 eye closed, then 2 eyes, then 3, 4, 5, 6. Every time it closed an eye, 6 levels. Release the gang, 4 sodium. Release the gang, 4 Chue butt in Xiao Bao and Diming. But around him, 1 eye after another began to appear. Release the gang, 4 8 stinking tongues shot out like arrows. Diming? He waved the sword in his hand and cut off 4 of them. However, 2 of the scarlet tongues flew toward Xiao Bao. Diming? His figure flashed, and he pulled Xiao Bao into his arms. In an instant, 2 scorching hot red tongues pierced through his chest. Daddy! Xiao Bao couldn't hold it in any longer. No! Daddy, don't die! I don't want you to die! His divine power had long been exhausted, and he did not know how much blood had flowed out of his wounds. Diming? He could feel his body getting colder and colder. All the life force drained from his body bit by bit. He hugged Xiaobao tightly and smiled bitterly. He had thought that he would die on a battlefield, but he never thought that before he died, he wouldn't even be able to see Mayan one last time. Dong, dong, dong. All of a sudden, the deep and vigorous sound of a bell came from the sky. Every strike was slow, unhurried, and long. Yet, one strike after another, it smashed into the depths of one's soul, killing them, exuding infinite wood radiance, seeing his leg. Wuefe, Feng Bei's nippleway wink. Clam female, glue pain, recognizes palm. Shepherd Chengshi, Frozen Bao, Naz Tenengong Shi, Shui Heng. Arc Yu Yinran, who had been wallowing in self-pity, shuddered. She looked up in disbelief. Chapter 3002. Mu Yoyun's feminine smile froze on his face. He suddenly leaped onto a hill, staring at the sky, his face suddenly sinister, suddenly treacherous. All of them? Vent? Straw on you? Baldy Ming Liang? Stir up the rough Garui? Run to Wei Jiyu? Elder Chong stood up shakily from the ground, murmuring, "Did I hear wrong? That's the spirit bell." The spirit bell rings without any wind, only when a Shun musician advances to the next level. But it has only been a year since the last time the spirit bell rang. How could it be? How could it ring a third time? This thought just flashed through his mind. A bright light sprang up from the land of the extreme north, straight into the sky, and suddenly exploded in the air. The Shoshin continent, which was originally night, suddenly became as bright as day. Under the dazzling light on the continent, Tu Luo AI, by Luo AI, Hu AI, curtain-ripping frame, the sudden ringing of the bell, and the bright light seemed to have paused everything. Whether it was a person, vent, follow, Wuefe, Mal Yin Jiang Wei Zhanzi there, a huge silver moon slowly rose. 9 bright stars, revolving around the silver moon, slowly rotating, the stars and the moon connected. 9 stars and moon, it has appeared again, 9 stars and moon. Between heaven and earth, there was a faint melodious sound of a zither reverberating, as if there was a pair of gentle hands, gently caressing every devastated soul. The pitter-patter of rain fell from the sky. Jun Shirtian stretched out his hand to catch the dripping rain. As the rain seeped into his body, the magic nucleus in his body began to rotate at high speed, gradually replenishing the magic source that was originally consumed. But Jun Shirtian did not seem to care about his body at all. He slightly tilted his head, listening to the sound of the zither floating in his ears, his eyes revealing a trace of doubt. This zither sound seemed somewhat familiar. Where had he heard it before? Xiao Bao blankly raised his head, letting the white rain wet his little face. Under the washing of the rain, the small wounds on his body healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. The evil sword in his hand, which had lost its light, once again emitted a buzzing sound. The cracks on the body of the sword emitted a faint glow after being soaked by the rain, and actually began to gradually disappear. On the ground, Elder Chang's hand, that was only left with charred bones, had regrown. Yingmei also slowly opens her eyes in Han Ye's embrace, and is tightly embraced by Han Ye. Xiao Bao looked at Di Ming in front of him. The huge bloody hole in his chest was rapidly healing. The mellow energy surrounded him, and strands of it drilled into his body. Daddy won't die. Bai Xie will not disappear. No one will die, because someone was watching over him, protecting him. Even if they were separated by mountains and rivers, even if they were in 2 different worlds, this had never changed. Suddenly, she could no longer hold back the tears that she had been holding back for a long time, and they overflowed from her eyes. It's Mother! Xiao Bao threw himself at Di Ming. In his arms, he burst into tears. Father, it was Mother who saved us, wasn't it? Di Ming? He stared blankly at the void spirit ring in his hand. As the drizzle fell and surrounded Xiao Chun, countless divine energy poured into his body. His wounds healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. His strength was rapidly recovering. Di Ming? As he watched, he couldn't help but chuckle softly. helpless, doting, and sweet. June Mayan was June Mayan. She was never a weak daughter flower that needed people to protect her. She could break through all the difficulties in the world and could even protect him in turn. Chapter 3003. Diming-ju takes Xiao Bao in his arms and whispers, "Yes, it was your mother who saved Daddy and Xiao Bao." Below, someone suddenly let out a cry of surprise. My injury is healed. My broken hand has grown back. Did the heavens pity us and give us a way to live? Did you see that? The poltergeist ghosts can't move. Quick, kill them. We are saved. The humans of the three realms are saved. Above the hidden abyss, both spirit cultivators and devil cultivators seem to have gone mad, crying and laughing, their hands constantly harvesting the poltergeist ghosts' lives. Mu Luyan looks at this scene. His eyes are sinister and his face is distorted. Suddenly, he grits his teeth, takes out another porcelain bottle from his bosom, and carefully pours a drop down. Roar! The frozen rank 6 poltergeist ghost suddenly seems to come alive, letting out a roar. The 8 eyes that were originally closed open again, and the one-eyed poltergeist ghosts all disappear, merging into one with it. The poltergeist ghost roars again, suddenly leaps up, and rushes towards the whirlpool in the sky. Not good. Jing Yuan suddenly comes back to his senses, shouting, "It wants to completely destroy the heavenly pillar." Diming-ju sneers and looks down at Xiao Bao. "Can you protect yourself?" Xiao Bao heavily nods. Without waiting for Diming-ju to say anything, he leaves his embrace and returns to defeating armies. After confirming that Xiao Bao is not in any danger, Diming-ju's figure flashes, and like an arrow released from a bow, he rushes towards a crack. Jun Shirtian also soars into the sky, disappearing into the horizon. Mu Luyan looks up at the sky, his face grim. "I don't believe that you can survive this time. I don't believe it. The heavenly pillar will collapse, the Shoshin continent will sink, the three realms will be destroyed, none of you will survive, none of you will escape. Ha ha." However, the next moment, Mu Luyan's laughter comes to an abrupt end. Above the silver moon in the sky, a giant blood-red sun was slowly rising. It appears by the side of the silver moon. One sun and one moon, one red and one white. 9 shining stars revolve around it. All the lights merge and converge in the sky, finally turning into a multicolored glow that shines down. Chi, chi, chi. On the ground, no matter where they were on the continent, all the poltergeist ghosts let out mournful wails. It began to evaporate and dissipate. Above the hidden abyss, everyone stopped fighting. They stared blankly at the magnificent scene in the sky, almost forgetting to breathe. After a long, long time, someone finally let out a soft sigh. The glorious sun swallows the heavens, 9 stars linked to the moon, frigid wall crimson crow, flowing light 10,000 miles. Heavens, what did we just witness? Rewind time a half an hour ago. Nether realm, water prison. Sensing a familiar aura approaching her, Luo Yunxiao slowly opened her eyes. "Master!" The half-kneeling man slowly stretched out his hand and helped him up from the ground. He said softly, "Don't speak and don't circulate your divine power. Your primordial spirit has collapsed. Master will take you away from here first." When his palm touched Luo Yunxiao's back, he felt a cold and wet sensation. The man retracted his hand and frowned when he saw his palm covered in blood. Luo Yunxiao weakly said, "Chi's kiss. Don't worry. Master has already brought Chi Wen back to Xingyuan Dock." Only then did Luo Yunxiao shut up. In fact, he no longer had the strength to speak. As soon as the man took Luo Yunxiao to the door of the water prison, they were stopped. Chapter 3004. In Wuji said with a dark face, "Spiritual Master Xing Yuan, you trespassed into the nether region and took someone away from my prison of water. What is the meaning of this?" Xing Yuan said lightly, "My disciple has been abused by you. Why can't I take him away?" In Wuji said hatefully, "Xing Yuan, don't go too far. He is also my son. How I want to deal with him is my freedom. Back then, you used the greater good of the world as an excuse to interfere. I already did not bother with you. Do you still want to take matters into your own hands and protect this evil creature? Who do you think you are?" Luo Yunxiao's long eyelashes trembled. His face was as cold as frost, but he did not open his eyes. He said hoarsely, "Master, don't worry about me." But before he finished speaking, Xing Yuan's hand on his back injected a thread of power. Luo Yunxiao felt his mind waver, and he slowly lost his senses. After confirming that Luo Yunxiao could no longer hear their conversation, he looked at Yin Wuji. Xing Yuan's expression grew colder inch by inch, his eyes as dark as ice. "Yin Wuji, do you know what you have done? What kind of calamity have you brought to the Xiaoxing continent?" Yin Wuji said angrily, "What did I do? I only punished a disobedient and unfilial son. Is it your turn to ask?" Xing Yuan thought of the sky full of cracks in the boundary, the rampaging ghosts, and the wailing corpses. He wanted to tear Yin Wuji apart, but in the end, he swallowed the words that were at the tip of his tongue. He regained his calmness and said, "Yun Xiao does not know anything. He is the most dangerous, but also the most innocent. Back then, when I sent Yun Xiao back to the Netherworld region, I told you not to attempt to step on his bottom line, and not to force him into a hopeless situation. Otherwise, there will come a day when you will pay a painful price for your actions." Yin Wuji's expression was even colder and more resentful. His voice suddenly rose, carrying with it the madness and fear of a ruler of a region. "Lu Xingyuan, I said long ago that this bastard cannot be allowed to live. It was you who insisted on protecting him. Since he will die sooner or later, why don't you let me kill him now? Do you know what Yushu and I think about every moment we look at this evil creature? I want to use 100 ways to kill him, destroy his soul, and consign him to eternal damnation. I want him to never be able to threaten the life and death of my Netherrealm again." Neither of them noticed. Luo Yunxiao, who was supposed to be unconscious, moved her fingers slightly. Xing Yuan closed his eyes and said, "Domain Lord Yin, I'll take her away. I hope you'll behave yourself in the future." After saying that, the two of them disappeared on the spot. Yin Wuji was left standing where he was, his face contorted as he viciously smashed the stone tablet in front of the aqua prison. After leaving the nether domain, Xing Yuan supported the unconscious Luo Yunxiao and looked up at the sky. At this time, more and more cracks appeared in the sky. Countless ghouls fell from the crack, about to take countless innocent lives. Xing Yuan stared for a long time before lowering his head to look at his disciple. He let out a long sigh. "Time, fate. Perhaps this is your destiny, and also the destiny of the Xiaoxing continent." The mournful cries of a child could be heard from below. Xing Yuan furrowed his brow, put down Luo Yunxiao, and flew forward. In the dark, bloody night, there was no moon, no stars, no light. There was only a trace of scarlet on Luo Yunxiao's incomparably handsome face. Her long eyelashes trembled, and she slowly opened her eyes. Chapter 3005. That pair of eyes that used to shine brighter than the stars were now as dim as ashes. The corners of his chapped lips curled up into a faint smile. Her brows were as clear as snow, and her beauty was unparalleled. However, her smile was filled with despair and heartbreak. He was hated by his parents, disliked by the world, like a monster walking alone. But he clearly did not do anything, but he had to bear the deepest darkness in the world. He did not even know what he was. Was he a human, a monster, a demon, or a monster that did not blend in with the world? Luo Yunxiao closed his eyes, his throat emitting a low, hoarse, and desolate laughter like that of a trapped beast. But in a daze, he seemed to hear a distant and tearing voice roaring in his ears. "If you and I are the same mind, then lend your power to me temporarily. I do not want to destroy the world, do not want to take revenge on humans. I don't want anything. I just want to protect this woman in front of me." "Protect this woman? Which woman?" Luo Yunxiao opened his eyes in a daze. A blurry figure appeared in front of him. His primordial spirit collapsed. Blood stained his long dress, as though he would disappear from the world at any time. But Luo Yunxiao saw a glimmer of light in this blurry figure. The only light he sincerely believed in his life, the light he longed to protect. His cracked lips slowly opened and closed, as though he was swearing, or as though he was sad to let go of the rest of his life. Okay, Alindu, as long as you can protect her, then at least his dirty and rotten life still had a shred of value. Then at least he would have no regrets being abandoned by the world. Buzz, buzz, buzz. In his sea of consciousness, the 11 natal swords trembled violently, as though responding to something. The energy in his body flowed out like a fountain, dissipating and taking away his weak vitality bit by bit. Luo Yunxiao slowly closed his eyes. Dong, dong, dong. It was at this moment that the bell tolled. The huge silver moon rose into the night sky, the 9 stars shining brightly. White raindrops fell from the sky, wetting his skin, seeping into his bones and blood, and slowly seeping into his soul. Luo Yunxiao opened his eyes in a daze, looking at the bright moon in the sky. The burn wound on his back gradually healed. The pain in his body disappeared without a trace. The life force that he had lost had returned to his body at some point in time, giving him hope and conviction to continue living. The melodious music gently rang in his ears, like the clear voice of a young girl ringing over and over again. No, it wasn't just one voice. There were many other voices. Junior Marshall Uncle, your body is your own. Even if no one else cared, you had to care. Because if you take yourself seriously and abandon your 7 emotions and 6 desires, then no one in this world will truly care about you. May we live forever in this life and night, free and unfettered forever. Little Marshall Uncle, what is your true identity? Do you have any powerful enemies? What kind of past did he have? We don't care about that. All we know is that you are our junior uncle and a member of the Carefree sect. We want to announce to the whole world that you are a member of the Xiao Yao sect, the youngest martial uncle of the Xiao Yao 7. Luo Yunxiao suddenly closed his eyes. The raindrops fell on his face and slid down the corner of his mouth. Chapter 3006. But for some reason, for the first time, the rain felt scorching hot. His lips curled up again. But this time, his smile was no longer one of despair, but one of humble appreciation and tenderness. Yes, he was not alone in this world. He was not abandoned by the world. Because he still had the Xiao Yao sect. He still had the Xiao Yao sect. Luo Yunxiao slowed down his breathing and allowed his consciousness to fall asleep. He didn't see the rising sun and silver moon rise together and shine on the earth. He also didn't see the cracks in the barrier in the sky slowly disappear without anyone repairing them. The silver moon and the rising sun slowly set in the west. Raging? Exuberant? Sulfur? Peeling off the gauze? Looking? Gathering? Unforgiving. People didn't know where this disaster came from. They also didn't know where the 9 stars and moon that saved the world came from. But tens of thousands of living beings finally welcomed their turning point in a new life. This hellish month was remembered by all humans on the Xioshan continent. History called it the falling sky disaster. And at almost the same time, on the other continent across the space barrier, the final battle that concerned their survival also came. The Xioshan continent. At the peak of the Phoenix Sky mountain range, the silver moon hung in the sky. The 9 stars appeared, the sky rained, and the mountains recovered. Such a big movement alarmed the teachers and students of the Dragon Ascension Academy and the villagers of Yuanwu Village who were cultivating in the Chaotic Tower. They all walked out of the tower, looking at the huge silver moon in the sky and the 9 stars connected to it. They came back to their senses in shock. Lowering his head, he saw that the land, which should have been pitch black, had already been illuminated as bright as day. From the high peak of the Phoenix Sky mountain range, they could see the excited crowd running and shouting below. The melodious sound of a zither echoed in the starry sky. The pitter-patter of rain fell from the center of the silver moon, falling on the snow-covered mountaintop and on the soil and forest. The grass and trees everywhere began to grow rapidly, one wilting and one thriving. Dense spirit energy surged like a spring, covering the entire peak of the Phoenix Sky mountain range. What's going on? Everyone was baffled by this phenomenon. While they were confused, they suddenly heard a teacher and student of the Dragon Ascension Academy shout, My injuries are all healed. Damn, why do I feel that the bottleneck that I've been stuck in for a long time is loosening? It's the rain. This rain can help us heal and advance. This discovery made everyone wild with joy. They anxiously rushed into the chaotic tower and helped their injured comrades and teachers out, allowing them to bathe in the moonlight and drizzle. Kong Yuanjiu raised his head and looked at the huge silver moon in the sky. Feeling the internal injuries on his body gradually heal, he almost burst into tears. 9 stars linked to the moon. It's a moon's spiritual root that's hard to come by even in a million years. It's actually Miss June, the future mistress of the polar domain. This is really great. Really great. Hearing this, even though he already had a guess in his heart, he didn't dare to say anything. Zhou Daoi still revealed an expression of disbelief. Elder Kong, you mean to say this 9 stars and moon was caused by Miss June? He paused for a moment, and his voice became a little more strained. If I remember correctly, the 9 stars connected to the moon does not only require a moon spirit root, but also requires the owner of the moon spirit root to have a major breakthrough and activate the heaven and earth yuan qi. Only then can it happen. Chapter 3007. Kong Yuanjiu nodded. You're right. There'd be a problem if he wasn't fucking good. Zhou Daoi was in a complete mess in the rain. The problem is, June Mayan was only a little girl at Gold Core Stage a year ago. No, wait a minute. June Mayan is only a little girl right now. More importantly, the people of the Xiaoyao sect had said that their junior sister had just advanced from the nascent soul stage to the leaving aperture stage in the northern continent of the Purple Cloud Realm. Only a few days had passed, and he had broken through again? To be able to trigger a breakthrough in the 9 stars and moon, it was definitely not just a minor breakthrough. So, Mayan broke through from the leaving body stage to the crossing tribulation stage. The deans and mentors of Dragon Ascension who came to this conclusion were on the verge of tears. They were already so old and had been stuck in the leaving aperture stage for decades. All they wanted was to break through to the tribulation stage and fight for the opportunity to become an immortal. But looking at June Mayan, whether it was from Jindan to Yuanying or from Yuanying to leaving body, it only took a few short months. The final step, which was as difficult as ascending to the heavens for everyone, from the astral projection to the tribulation transcendence, was actually achieved in just a few days. How could these old fellows, who've been busy for half their lives, endure this? Little junior sister advanced again? What a freak. That's insane. The 6 people of the Xiaoyao school landed on the peak of Phoenix Sky Mountain. They looked at the silver moon in the sky and sighed. Didn't third senior brother say it already? Little junior sister had absorbed too much energy. She would either advance or die. With little junior sister's strong willpower and talent, how could she die? So, isn't it normal to advance? This rain is a little strange. The spiritual power in my body is surging a little too fast. Luo, you blinked. Why do I feel like I'm about to advance? Damn, how did I reach the peak of the original level in the blink of an eye? The 6 of them looked at each other with dreamy expressions. Junior sister is really capable. You want to bring us along when you want to level up? Hee hee. I knew that 6 senior sister's thigh is the easiest to hug. If you have the ability, go and hug it in front of instructor Mo. Luo, you shrank her neck. Do you think I'm stupid? Don't you know how petty and jealous teacher Mo is? Later on, I'll lose my life before I can hug his thigh. Yin Ruhan said, All right, stop talking nonsense. Hurry up and cultivate so that you can ascend as soon as possible. He looked in the direction of Divine Elephant City and said in a low voice, all of you should know what kind of difficult battle we have to face next. Do you still want to drag little junior sister down and let her fight alone? Yin Ruhan's words silenced the group of people who had been laughing. Luo Yu clenched her fists tightly. She didn't say anything and sat down cross-legged in the rain. Lung Yuma's hand was on the Red Lotus Soul Stealing Blade. She loosened her grip and tightened her grip. She laughed softly and sat down as well. The 5 people from the Carefree sect completely ignored their surroundings and entered secluded meditation along with the surrounding crowd. Only Chu Moli was appreciating the bright moon in the night sky. He took out his easel with great interest and began to paint. His pen and paper were all specially made. Even in the rain, the paper would not be damaged, nor would the ink stains appear. Thus, Zhou Daoi and the others watched as he splashed ink on the easel. Not long after, a strange scene appeared on the paper. It was a hellish sea of blood with skeletons floating in the air. Beside it was a steep slope. On the slope, countless people with distorted, hideous, or blurry faces were climbing up with all their might. Chapter 3008. The entire slope was a glaring crimson. Other than the figures climbing up, there were also many broken limbs and ghastly white bones. But the scene at the end of the slope was completely different from the one below, as if it was torn into 2 different worlds. There, the moon was bright and the stars were twinkling. The clear night sky was shining with the purest and most beautiful radiance in the world. The people who were climbing up the slope wanted to reach such a beautiful world. Kong Yuanjiu and Zhou Daoi glanced at Chu Moli's painting. They felt their eyelids twitching, as if something had hit their chest hard. They couldn't even breathe. They didn't dare to look anymore. But in their hearts, they were amazed by Chu Moli, the silver Bao Divine archer of the Xiaoyao sect. At this moment, someone cried out in alarm. "Look, Yin Ruhan advanced. Oh my god, he really advanced just like that. It's not just Mayan. The gods of the Xiaoyao sect are all fucking inhuman." As for Zhou Daoi and the others, tears were streaming down their faces. It wasn't enough that there was only one monster in the world, but there were 6 here. What kind of weird sect was the Xiaoyao sect? Did they specialize in producing monsters? How could they let other people live like that? But after the depression, they couldn't help but become excited. The biggest headache right now should be the Demon Extermination Alliance, right? Hee, didn't you see the news in Tianguang ruins? That devil-slaying alliance was completely defeated by the godly cultivators of the Xiaoyao sect. They're in a sorry state. Before the unfettered 7 sons advanced, they were already beaten to a pulp. Once they advance, this demon-slaying alliance will just wait to collapse. What Demon Extermination Alliance? They're just a bunch of sanctimonious, shameless, and despicable people. They say that they want to kill the Xiaoyao 7 demons for the sake of the people. But in reality, they just want to steal the chaotic tower. Thinking of the soaring dragon sect that had been completely destroyed, everyone's expressions were filled with indescribable anger and despair. During this time, everyone hid in the chaotic tower and didn't leave. But they could still get some information about the continent through Tianguang ruins. They knew that the demon-slaying alliance had been established, and almost all of the clans and sects in the Purple Cloud realm had joined it. They also knew that the demon-slaying hall was established in the Divine Elephant City, the old site of the original Soaring Dragon. Stepping on their 1,000 years of glory, piling up their corpses, they marked them as the claws of the evil demons. They also knew that the Fiend's Exterminating Alliance had spread the news of the unfettered 7 devils' crimes to the entire cultivation world, inverting right and wrong, and calling a deer a horse, swearing that they would never have a foothold on this continent again. As for the truth of the matter, these people who were rescued by Jun Mayan from the brink of life and death would naturally know. However, even if they clarified, would anyone be willing to believe the truth from their mouths? Does anyone care what the truth is? After all, this was a cultivation world where the strong preyed on the weak. The winner was king, and the loser was doomed. However, they only had so few people and so little battle prowess. If all of them were added together, It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that they were a burden to the unfettered seven. How could they fight against such a powerful demon-slaying alliance? Even if the Xiao Yao Seven really advanced to the next round, would they have any hope of winning? The same thought flashed through everyone's mind. Pain, despair, but clear. They would still die in the end, wouldn't they? Carrying the infamy of demons, under the condemnation of thousands of people, the entire army was annihilated. Chapter 3009. It's not good. Elder Kong, Principal Zhou, it's not good. As if to verify their thoughts, a hurried and panicked voice comes from the foot of the mountain. Along with it, an earth-shattering shout comes into everyone's ears. The demon-slaying alliance is here. All of you come out and die. In the Tian Mo Chin space, Mu Yin wakes up from her meditation and lets out a long breath. Bang! Bang! Two dumplings, one red and one yellow, rush into her arms one after the other. Their claws hook on her clothes, and their beaks bite on her belt, refusing to let go. Wow, beautiful sister, you scared us to death. Chirp, chirp, chirp. Chirp, chirp, chirp. Ga. Woof, woof, woof. The little chick is so anxious that it can't even express its meaning clearly. It makes all sorts of noises, and its head keeps burrowing into her arms. Mu Yin is suddenly amused by the woof-woof sounds. She flicks the little chick's head. Do you remember that you're a chicken? It's fine if you learn to bark like a duck, but why do you also bark like a dog? The little chick's big eyes are brimming with tears. It blinks, but it won't fall. The ahog on its head stands up. Hearing Mu Yin scolding it, it tilts its head in grievance. Then it opens its mouth slightly and makes a hiccup sound. Mu Yin, after appeasing the two little guys, she examines her own body. Under this inspection, even if she was mentally prepared, she is still startled. What's going on? How can the Shun musician skills advance so much? She quickly looks up at the red-clothed youngster not far away. Chi Huang, didn't you say that 10 rounds of divine power can light up 1 star of skill, 100 rounds of divine power can light up 2 stars, and the first round of divine power can light up 3 stars? But now all my skills are above 3 stars. 7 ultimate sword spirits, graceful feather, rebirth, and dry stars. These skills have been directly upgraded to 4 stars. This isn't just 1 or 2 skills. It's all of them, a full 20 skills. Medicine, martial arts, alchemy, music, all of them are covered, all of them advanced. The amount of divine power consumed is simply incalculable. And this time, Mayan's harvest was far more than this. In just half a month, her cultivation had reached the crossing calamity stage. Her astral domain had advanced to the 4th rank after devouring a large amount of god refinement precipice. Her natal 7 absolute swords had truly merged with her sword heart and domain. At least in the domain of Xiozha, they were indestructible. Her Dantian and Sea of Consciousness were countless times larger than before. But Mu Yin faintly feels that the changes in her body aren't limited to just these. There seemed to be an even more terrifying and majestic power lingering around her, waiting for her to comprehend and explore it. After Mu Yin asks, she doesn't hear anyone answer for a long time. She thought that Chi Huang had been seriously injured in order to help her advance, so she hurriedly stepped forward. However, he found that this fellow was perfectly fine. He was pulling the grass on the ground while staring at the dried-up Milky Way in a daze. The reason why the Star River would dry up was naturally because the spiritual energy inside had been completely absorbed by Mu Yin, who was in the midst of advancing. However, as long as time passed, the spiritual power from the outside would re-enter the Tian Mo Chin space, and the Star River would be filled up again. Chi Xiao Huang, didn't you hear what I said? Mu Yin picks up a blade of grass that Chi Huang had pulled out and pokes his face. Chi Huang abruptly comes back to his senses and glares at her. Chapter 3010. 1 second to remember, LoveNet, providing you with wonderful reading. Chi Huang, Jun Mayan, I'm telling you, this sage is your savior. It's already good enough that I didn't ask you to devote your life to me. You'd better show some respect to me. Mu Yin had just successfully advanced and hadn't yet stabilized her advancement, but she had already heard these words. The moment she opened her eyes, this guy fiercely pounced on her and tightly hugged her, his body trembling violently. Mu Yin knows that he's worried about her, and she remembers seeing him in unbearable pain during the advancement, but still insisting on it regardless of everything. Her heart softens. It's just that before she could say a few words of comfort, Qi Huang abruptly pushes her away and begins to strut around arrogantly. The main point of the conversation is nothing more than that from now on. He is her savior. She can no longer consider herself a master, can't bully him, can't order him around, can't treat him like a child, and must unconditionally give him the crystal she earns. Mu Yin almost rolls her eyes at that time. In the end, she doesn't pay attention to this guy and directly sits cross-legged, stabilizing the harvest of this advancement. All right, save your big shot. What are you thinking about? So engrossed? Didn't you hear what I'm saying? You're not secretly communicating with my little martial uncle again, are you? Qi Huang's face suddenly flushes red. No, there seems to be a bit of green in this red. Jun Mayan, don't fucking talk nonsense. Damn, I just casually said it. And you're really with little martial uncle. Wait, could it be that something happened to little martial uncle? Qi Huang waves his hand and angrily says, there's no such thing. Who would secretly communicate with that pretty boy? Jun Mayan, you illiterate, don't you know how to use words? Speak. Why are you bothering this sage? Mayan doesn't argue with his shop assistant and repeats the question again. Hearing that, Qi Huang stares blankly. His pair of coquettish phoenix eyes are slowly dyed red, unblinkingly staring at Mayan. But the more he stares, the more shocked he becomes. Mayan rarely sees him with this kind of scarlet demon eyes, overflowing with evil aura. For a moment, her heart is somewhat scared. What's wrong? Is there a problem? Qi Huang closes his eyes, and when he opens them again, they've already recovered to that slightly evil black phoenix eyes. He doesn't answer Mayan's question, but points to the Tian Mo Qin. Use your Shin musician skills. Mu Yin didn't know what this guy was up to, so she could only do as he said. The sound of the zither was melodious, like high mountains, and flowing water, like pearls and jade falling on a plate. This time, Mu Yin displayed the realm of stars. The realm of stars in the past was very similar to floating like a dream. Weaving dreams, enriching the dreams, immersing people in them, and repeating the cycle. But at this moment, the realm of stars was activated. The entire space surrounding the Tian Mo Qin unexpectedly begins to change. Mountains, rivers, pavilions, terraces, and flower pavilions, simple and elegant, magnificent and magnificent. In the center of the courtyard, there were colorful flowers, grape trellises with ripe fruits hanging from them, and a swing that swayed gently in the wind. Seeing this scene, Little Phoenix and Little Chick rushed forward with a loud cry. The purple grapes were pecked off one by one, and the sweet juice splashed everywhere. The Little Phoenix ate with a satisfied face, not even noticing that its beautiful feathers were stained with purple juice. The Little Chick is squawking on the swing, and from time to time, a noisy noise reaches Mayan's ears. Mama, swing, swing. Huang Wang likes it. No one knows where the breeze came from, but it's accompanied by the melodious sound of the zither, tossing the swing up high and then heavily falling back down. The Little Chick lets out a crisp laugh. Mobile users, please browse and read. For a better reading experience, please visit Zii. Chapter 30:11. Qi Huang's expression is a little stupefied, and he looks a little silly. Mu Yan's mouth lifts, and the sound of the zither changes slightly. She sees a few little monkeys come out of nowhere, circling around Qi Huang and bowing with their hands clasped in front of him. There are also a few bold ones that directly climb up the red robe and hang on Qi Huang's neck. Qi Huang suddenly comes back to his senses. He flings away the little monkeys that have already hooked onto his robe. That real touch makes him stunned. Mu Yan smiles and stops playing the zither. In an instant, like a mirage on a bubble being punctured, it disappears without a trace. Little Inghua sits on the ground, crying. Little Phoenix smacks his lips, savoring the sweet grapes, still wanting more. Muyin looks at Qi Huang. How is it? Qi Huang is silent for a long time, then snorts. Have your Qi Si, Dantian, and Guan Yuan merged into one? Muyin nods. How to say it? In fact, ordinary people don't have Qi Si, Dantian, and Guan Yuan, because when the spiritual vein is formed, the Qi Si disappears and becomes the Dantian. When the immortal bone is reconstructed, the Dantian also disappears and is replaced by the Guan Yuan, which can store immortal energy. It's just that ordinary people don't understand the difference between these three and basically call them the Dantian. They only know that each person's Dantian can only store one system of energy. It's either internal force, or spiritual energy, or immortal energy, or even more supreme divine power. And with Muyan's advancement this time, the Qi Si and Guan Yuan, which originally stored internal force and immortal energy, disappeared, leaving only the Dantian. But in fact, her Dantian is completely different from the Dantian of ordinary cultivators, because Muyan's Dantian has become extremely vast, almost boundless. And her Dantian can simultaneously store internal force, spiritual energy, and immortal energy, three different types of energy. No, it's not just three, because there is a fourth energy system in her body that is in the center of the Dantian, slowly rotating magic core. This magic core is not much bigger than when it was condensed in the unclean abyss, but its color has become extremely deep and black. Looking inside with her divine sense, it looks like an obsidian, slowly circulating in her body, releasing pure devil energy. In other words, in her Dantian, it was Xian Qi, spiritual Qi, immortal Qi, and devil Qi. However, this was not the most unimaginable thing. The most incredible thing was that as long as she paid a certain price, she could even convert these four types of energy. After listening to Mayan's narration, even Qi Huang, who had always been stubborn and arrogant, couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth, unable to speak. After a long while, she gnashes her teeth and says, "Jun Mayan, are you the illegitimate daughter of the heavenly Tao?" On this point, even Mu Yin herself has some doubts. Otherwise, everyone only had one lifetime. How could she be reborn? Moreover, in this life, she has Xiao Bao and Di Ming Ju by her side, as well as so many relatives and close friends who won't leave her. Mu Yin pinched the void spirit ring between her fingers and gently turned it. A faint smile appeared on her face, and she could not help but lower her head to kiss it gently. Qi Huang couldn't bear to see her like this. He gritted his teeth and said, "The world outside is about to be turned upside down. Why are you still dawdling and showing affection here?" Mu Yin suddenly comes to her senses. How could she forget? Right now, the cultivators of the entire continent are probably searching for them, the unfettered seven devils. Chapter 30:12. As for the chaotic tower, because it had forcefully overdrafted itself to protect over 10,000 people for her, it had already fallen silent for a short period of time. It no longer had the nearly invincible protective barrier it had before. If they were to find the peak of Phoenix Heaven Mountain Range, the consequences would be unimaginable. Qi Huang looks at Mayan from head to toe. With this advancement, all the spiritual veins in your body have been thoroughly refined into spotless veins. Apart from the original spine, your immortal bones have also been tempered into the bones of your four limbs. Your devil physique has actually reached the third stage realm. And this doesn't include the fusion of Qi Si, Dantian, and Guan Yuan. The star domain has advanced to the fourth step. TSK, TSK, TSK. Fourth step domain. I'm sure there hasn't been anyone who has reached the world domain at such a young age, right? No wonder. Even the Shun musician rank was forcibly promoted by this overflowing energy to the point of almost exploding. Mu Yin raises her eyebrows in confusion. Why did Qi Xiao Wang use a tone of schadenfreude to count her gains this time? Wasn't it good to advance so many times? Chi Huang couldn't help but laugh out loud. Jun Mayan, don't you know how big of a commotion you make every time you advance? The greater the advancement, the greater the improvement, the more earth-shattering the commotion. Now, let alone the people of the cultivation continent knowing that you're in the heavenly Phoenix mountain range. I'm afraid even the cultivation continent has been affected. Don't you want to be discovered? It would be strange if you didn't get discovered. Mu Yan's complexion darkens, the blue veins on her forehead throbbing several times. She resists the urge to violently beat up this brat, and quickly leaves the space of the Tian Emochin. After all, he is my savior. Even if he is a bear, I can't beat him to death. He waits until Mu Yan's figure disappears in the space. Only then did Seven Brilliance sit down on the ground. Probably because of the heavenly body realm's display just now, the Milky Way once again gathered glowing streams of water. Chi Huang lowered his head and looked at his blurry reflection in the water. He murmured, "You, who are you? What about me? Who am I?" The face in the water was in a trance, twisting and jumping, but the corners of the mouth seemed to be curled into a cold and evil smile. As soon as Mu Yan comes out of the space, she knows that the situation is more serious than she expected. A scorching heat wave assaulted his face. Standing in the chaotic tower, one could see the blazing flames outside. From time to time, there would be explosions of thunder and screams of cultivators. Maya knits her brows. Her divine sense moves, and the Tian Emochin floats in front of her. She flicked her fingers lightly. An invisible barrier immediately enveloped the entire peak of the Phoenix Heaven mountain range. Large balls of spiritual fire continued to fall from the sky. Crackling sounds of explosions rang in his ears. But this time, all the attacks were blocked outside the barrier. Should musician skill, divine hands weave the heavens, activated. When the crowd outside the chaotic pagoda saw this scene, they were stunned for a moment before turning their heads to look. Miss June has come out. Madam Enchantress, are you all right? Great God, June, did you advance again? Are you at the crossing calamity stage? The youngest cultivator to reach the crossing calamity stage. Unprecedented and unmatched? Mu Yan answered them with a smile. Only then did he look at Kong Yuanjiu, Zhou Daoi, and the others who had just entered the pagoda. They were all in a sorry state, and there were obvious burn marks on Sun Yuanjiu's body. Seeing Mu Yan, their expressions are somewhat complicated. If one were to say that they still had doubts when they saw the 9 stars and the moon. But when Mu Yan stood in front of them at this moment, all their doubts turned into shock. Chapter 3013. Crossing Calamity Stage. He was truly at the crossing calamity stage at the age of 20. The one who was most shocked was none other than Sun Yuanjiu. He was at the advanced stage of the Tribulation Realm and was ranked 8th on the Green Sky list. But at this moment, he couldn't see the depths of this girl in front of him. What did that mean? This means that Mayan's cultivation is already far higher than his. After the shock, Kong Yuanjiu's eyes revealed sincere joy and admiration. He raised his hands and bowed deeply to Mu Yan. Congratulations to Miss June for successfully advancing to the crossing tribulation stage. At this moment, he couldn't even say, worthy of being Jun Shang's fiancé again. Because over the past year or so, Jun Mayan's achievements, the talent and strength that she has displayed, it was already impossible to conceal her radiance. She was no longer anyone's vassal, no one's fiancé. It was the one and only in this world, the unparalleled, fatally beautiful, killing god Jun Mayan. Mu Yan smiles. Instead of exchanging pleasantries with them, she directly asks about the current situation. They move the Demon Slaughter Hall to the foot of the Heavenly Phoenix mountain range. Because this place is close to the God-refining abyss, they don't dare to casually attack. So they chose to use the long-range attack magic treasure, Thunderbolt Flame Rod, supplemented by elite experts for sneak attack. But at the same time, because they were close to the God-refining abyss, their hands and feet were tied, and they couldn't fight freely. As a result, Kong Yuanjiu, Zhou Daoi, and the others were injured. Above the god refining abyss, the sky was forbidden. As long as a cultivator took a step out, they would fall straight down and turn into ashes, never to be reincarnated. Mu Yin walked out of the chaotic tower and gathered her spiritual energy into her ears. She immediately heard curses coming from the foot of the mountain. Unfettered 7 devils, how dare you kill people from my shrouded sky mansion? I will make you pay with your blood. You have the guts to commit murder, but you don't have the guts to come out and fight? Unfettered 7 devils, you bunch of cowards, get down here. Mu Yin raises an eyebrow. Did my senior brother and the others do something? As soon as he asked this, the teachers and students of the Soaring Dragon Academy and the villagers of Yuanwu Village immediately laughed. They described Yin Ruhan and the others' feats over the past few days with great passion and emotion. Mu Yin couldn't help but smile. This sinister revenge style was more like third senior brother style, where senior brother and the others. This, Almighty and the others are still in seclusion. At this time, Mu Yin was also aware of the phenomenon that occurred when she advanced. Apart from the alignment of the 9 stars, there was even a drizzle. Not only could the rain heal people, but it could also help them advance. In fact, that day after Luo Yu and the others entered meditation, many students and mentors of the Dragon Ascension Academy sat cross-legged in the rain. However, when the silver moon set in the west and the drizzle disappeared, the others gradually woke up from their meditation. Only Yin Ruhan and the others showed no signs of waking up. Jun Emos, yeah, you don't need to worry. For our group, the later we wake up from meditation, the greater the benefits we will receive in the end. Vice School Head Chu was the last to wake up, but he has already advanced to leaving Aperture Pinnacle. Great God Yin and the others have already broken through to the leaving Aperture realm right from the start of the meditation, but they have yet to wake up. This means that they have gained far more than that. Mu Yin herself is a little dumbfounded. She didn't expect that the vision caused by her advancement this time would be even more sensational than when the spiritual veins were reconstructed in the Yinwu continent. However, to be able to let senior brother and the others have a breakthrough, that would be great. Suddenly, she realized that something was wrong. You said 5? Chapter 3014. Zhou Daoi coughed lightly. That young Master Chu, he did not choose to meditate. Instead, he's been drawing. Third brother? Has he been drawing all this time? The space within the chaotic tower was not fixed. It could only have one main hall that could accommodate millions of people. It could also be divided into countless independent spaces. Within these spaces, there would be the battlefield of a powerful army, as well as the killing of swords and sabers. At that moment, the 6 members of the Xiao Yao sect were in one of the separate spaces. Yin Ruhan, Qin Jiu, Leng Yumao, Ling Yuxing, and Luo Yu were still sitting cross-legged. On the other hand, Chu Moli was sitting in front of the easel, quietly looking at the already completed 100 Ghosts Flying to the Moon painting. Sensing the ripples in space, Chu Moli smiled and said in a low voice, 9 stars linked to the moon, a sweet rain descending from the sky. Junior sister, how many more surprises do you have that I don't know about? Mu Yin goes behind him, glances at the easel, and immediately ridicules. What the hell is this? Third senior brother, can't you draw something sunny and healthy? Chu Moli raised his eyebrows. For example, beauty painting? Thinking of those models who were stripped naked and posed in a bewitching pose, Mayan couldn't hold back. Third senior brother, your body is overflowing with energy. Logically speaking, you should also enter meditation to advance. Have you been waiting here for me to come out? What do you want to tell me? Chu Moli turned his wheelchair and slowly turned around. His brows were elegant and gentle, and his smile was cheerful. When he looked up at people from his wheelchair, he looked a little sickly and shy. In short, he gave off a gentle and harmless feeling. But who would have thought that this fellow's nature was so black-bellied and perverted? The words that he often spat out were so harsh and infuriating. Just like now, he said slowly with such a deceptive expression, Before you came, I thought that our Xiaoyao sect was full of simple-minded fools. In the end, Master still accepted someone with a bit of brains. The corner of Mu Yan's mouth twitches. Do you believe that eldest senior brother and the others will beat you up when they wake up? Believe it or not, I will skin you right now. Chu Moli smiled. However, this time, there seemed to be something else in his smile that wasn't there usually. Although he's a bit foolish, since he's already a fellow disciple of me, Chu Moli, I won't allow anyone to bully him. It's a pity that I can't do that with my current strength. Therefore, I can only rely on you, junior sister. I've already paved the road. Since they want to exterminate us, we will let them know what it means to be exterminated. After he finished explaining everything, Chu Moli, like the other 5 people, started to enter a meditative state. Mu Yan's current divine sense was no longer the same as it was in the past. She could clearly see that there was an energy ball gathered in the dantian of her 6 senior and junior brothers. As the energy balls revolved, strands of fluorescent light entered their limbs and bones, flowing through every inch of their veins. It was the fluorescent light released by the energy ball that rapidly transformed their bodies, allowing them to advance in a short period of time. This was actually similar to the 3 energy balls that Mu Yan had absorbed. However, the energy ball in Mu Yan's body was 100 times more powerful and overbearing than this. As for the energy balls in Yun Ruhan and the others' bodies, they had absorbed the rain from the 9 stars and moon. They were clean and pure, without any impurities. They also wouldn't cause any harm to the body. Looking at the size of the energy balls in the 6 people's dantian, they would wake up in about a day. Chapter 30:15. Judging from the size of the energy balls in their dantians, they would wake up in about a day. I wonder what level everyone's cultivation will advance to at that time. Great God June, great God June. A sharp and urgent voice comes from outside the door, interrupting Mayan's thoughts. Her figure flashed, and she appeared in the great hall of the first floor of the chaotic tower. The person who called out to her was a student of Dragon Soaring Academy. During these few hours, the Thunderbolt Fire Rod continued to attack, but it couldn't break the sound wall created by Divine Hand's Weaver. Afterwards, no one knew if the Demon-Slaying Alliance's people were a loss of what to do, or if they had other ideas, but there was no movement for a while. Thus, Sun Yuanjiu sent people who were good at concealment to the foot of the mountain to investigate. The person who had been sent was a student from the Dragon Ascension Academy. The student's expression was indignant, and his eyes were slightly red, as if he had seen something unbearable. Mu Yan's heart thumped. What happened? Jun and Mo Xia, please go and take a look. Those bastards, they're not human at all. Mu Yan was about to ask in detail, when suddenly, Jun Mayan, I know that you're relying on the refining god abyss to hide in the Fengtian Mountains. But do you think you can hide forever? Hee. Why don't you listen to this voice and see if it makes you the unfettered 7 demons, miss it? Chu Xinyan's voice, amplified by his spiritual energy, suddenly rang out. Then, she heard a familiar old voice. Mu Yan's face instantly darkens, because she recognized that it was her master, Shi Qing's voice. Ju Mayan, I'll count to 10. If you don't bring the chaotic tower down, the corpse you'll see in a while will not be Shi Qing's. At the foot of Mount Foam, the dense forest had been razed to the ground. The huge 100 Calamity City sat on it, exuding a chilling aura. High-level spatial magic treasures could change their structure according to their owner's will. At that moment, the entire 100 Disaster City looked completely different from when it was in Divine Elephant City. The majestic hall was situated in the west, facing the heavenly Phoenix Mountain range that was shrouded in ice and snow. Above the main entrance of the hall hung a huge plaque. 2 large characters were written on it with vigorous strokes, Demon Slayer. Below the demon-slaying palace was a plaza filled with pure spiritual chi. On both sides of the square, there were 2 long rows of carved chairs made from the 10,000-wheel wood, a spiritual plant of the 8th grade. Looking into the distance, there were at least 100 people sitting on the carved chairs. Moreover, Every single one of these people was the leader of a major sect or family in the Purple Cloud domain. At this moment, these people's expressions were either solemn, indignant, or eager. However, they all had the same goal and would cast their gazes towards the peak of the heavenly Phoenix mountain range from time to time. Fellow Taoists, please listen to me. In front of the demon-slaying palace, there are also 2 wooden chairs carved with 10,000 wheels. The Alliance Master of the Demon Extermination Alliance, Jing Tianyi, and the Deputy Alliance Master, Chu Xinyan, were sitting on the left and right respectively. Jing Tianyi was the one who had spoken. Today, I, Jing Tianyi, have invited all the clans and sects of the Purple Cloud world to gather here for one reason. That is to crusade against the unfettered 7 devils, annihilate the evil, and seek justice for all the fellow Taoists who died in the calamity, so as to return peace and prosperity to the world. The crimes of the unfettered 7 devils are too numerous to be recorded. I'm sure that all of you present have heard of it. Jing Tianyi's face revealed a bit of righteous indignation. Chapter 3016. The Fusang country of the Western continent had tens of thousands of cultivators, but they were all massacred in one night. After that, the Chongshan sect and the Killing Luo sect heard the commotion and went to investigate, but were almost killed by them. The head of the Chongshan sect, Li Anyang, died in this battle. The Shui family of the southern continent had no enmity with the unfettered 7 demons, but they killed their most talented successor. Even the head of the family, Shui Minglang, was severely injured, and his cultivation was unable to advance. As for the northern continent, Jing Tianyi closed his eyes, his face full of pain. Yin Ruhan of the unfettered 7 demons took the body of the only son of the Yun family, Yin Jifeng, and survived. After we found out about this, the unfettered 7 demons went all out and controlled the corpse puppets in the unclean abyss to massacre the northern continent. Even the great elder of cleansing, Lu Pavilion, Xin Yuan, and the head of the Ning family died in the hands of these demons. As Jing Tianyi finished speaking, the people below immediately echoed loudly. This group of demons massacred the Fusang city and even boasted shamelessly that one person massacred a city, only Junmayan. Not only did they not feel ashamed of doing such a heartless thing, they even took it as an honor. How hateful! They really deserve to be killed. Jing Tianyi raised his hand and gestured for the crowd to calm down. He was ranked 5th on the Green Sky list and had the backing of the Mu Lu Pavilion. Naturally, he was a powerful cultivator in the crossing calamity stage. Thus, the demon-slaying hall quickly quieted down. Jing Tianyi continued, "But this is not the most heartless of the unfettered 7 demons. Everyone knows that although the Soaring Dragon Academy is not the school of the 7 demons, it has always treated them well. It was the Deer Cry Banquet of the Soaring Dragon Academy that gave them the opportunity to stand out and become famous. Who knew that not only were the 7 not grateful, they even used demonic magic to bewitch the teachers and students of the Soaring Dragon Academy, making them listen to them and become the minions of the demons. They even obediently handed over the treasures, the Chaotic Pagoda and the 6 Stars Pagoda. In the end, Sorceress Jun Mayan precisely used the Chaotic Tower to destroy the God-refining precipice, causing the advantage that our Ziyun realm's great families had established over the past 1,000 years to completely disappear. The originally stable and complete structure of the 4 realms has been destroyed, and the cultivation continent is likely to fall into endless disputes. And all of this was brought about by the unfettered 7 devils. Do you think such an evil monster should be killed?" As soon as he finished speaking, the crowd below immediately responded in unison. "He deserves to die." However, there were quite a few people who continued to sit in their seats in silence. They frowned and did not respond. Jing Tianyi glanced at these people and smiled. He raised his hand again to signal the crowd to be quiet before continuing. "We've already found out the whereabouts of the unfettered 7 devils. They're currently hiding in the heavenly Phoenix mountain range. waiting for an opportunity to slaughter our cultivators. I won't hide it from everyone. Recently, the disciples of my cleansing Lu Pavilion, North Ding Home Mansion, and He sect have all been killed by this group of demons. Whether it's for the common people's livelihood or for our own interests, we absolutely cannot allow these demons to continue to be ignored. Thus, during this period of time, after discussing with Marquis Chu, we've decided to establish a demon-slaying alliance. I, Jing Tianyi, have been elected as the alliance leader by fellow Taoists, and Marquis Chu as the deputy alliance leader. At this time when the demons are in power, we do not dare to remain aloof. Thus, today we're holding the Demon-Slaying Gathering under the Heavenly Phoenix Mountain Range. That you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.